Chapter 4770. Who exactly are you? Mo Duxing gritted his teeth and asked. He couldn't believe that a newcomer could be so powerful. I'm Lin Xian. Go back and tell Baizhen to come here and die. Mo Duxing gritted his teeth and snorted. He turned and left. Lin Xian didn't stop him because he knew the rules of the Dao sect. Fighting was fine, but killing was not allowed. Unless both sides had a life and death battle, and it had to be agreed. But even if he didn't kill, he would do the same. He could establish his dominance. With a wave of his hand, the 9 suns' divine fire appeared and burned the body of the old butler and the battle servants to ashes. He said to the dark red dragon and the others, "Clean up. From now on, this will be our residence." On the other side, Mo Duxing left Baizhen's residence and flew into the distance. His face was extremely ugly. This time he came to find Baizhen for something. Who would have thought that he would meet such a terrifying opponent? Lin Xian. He remembered this person. This person was very strong. When he broke through, he would definitely challenge him again. As he thought, he quickly swallowed pills. This time he suffered from the backlash of the divine art. But fortunately, he was ranked first on the stars ranking. He was given a lot of resources and pills every month. He took out a few healing pills and swallowed them. On the way, he passed by the primordial battlefield. The people around him hadn't left yet. They were discussing. Mo Duxing was stunned. He stopped and asked, "What happened here?" When the people around saw this, they quickly bowed and greeted senior brother Mo. There was a challenge here. A new genius, Lan Jiyu, challenged Taizhentian, who was ranked first on the stars ranking. In the end, she won and replaced Taizhentian. Mo Duxing was stunned when he heard this. Another newcomer? What's wrong this time? Why are there so many terrifying newcomers? The other disciples saw this and said, "Senior brother Mo, don't worry. This Lan Jiyu is not ordinary. She is senior brother Lan Zilu's sister, and a top genius of the Blue Clan." Moreover, although she wasn't ranked first this time, it was said that Lin Xian, who was ranked first, used despicable means to win. This Lan Jiyu was the true number 1 in the test. That's right, that Lin Xian can't even compare to Fairy Zheyu. I don't think he'll be able to enter the stars ranking in this lifetime. The group of people nodded. Hearing this, Mo Duxing's face turned black and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Lin Xian, why did this name sound so familiar? Wasn't that the young man who had defeated him with a single glance? The other party would never be able to enter the stars ranking? What kind of joke was this? The other party was so terrifying. He was definitely not someone that Lan Jiyu could compare to. Senior brother Mo, what happened to you? Are you hurt? The surrounding disciples were all shocked. The person before him was ranked number 1 on the stars ranking. He was much more terrifying than Taizhentian. Who was it that could injure him? Mo Duxing gritted his teeth. What could he say? Could he say that he was defeated by a single look from Lin Xian? That would be too embarrassing. You don't have to pay attention to the relapse of your old injuries. After saying that, he waved his sleeve and turned to leave. So it's a relapse of an old injury. I heard that my senior brother went through a very difficult mission before. Perhaps he was injured during that battle. The group of disciples discussed here. They didn't know that the one who had defeated Mo Duxing was the one they didn't think highly of, Lin Xian. Moreover, he had been defeated by Lin Xian in a single move. What kind of expression would these people have when they knew the truth? The news of Lan Jiyu's successful challenge spread out instantly. In an instant, the entire Dao sect knew that an extremely terrifying genius had arrived. Her name was Lan Jiyu, and her future was limitless. At the same time, they also knew that Lin Xian, who came in first in this assessment, had used despicable means. Of course, the reason why the news spread so widely was definitely because the Dragon Palace had secretly done something. They wanted to suppress Lin Xian. They wanted to create momentum for Lan Jiyu. Baizhen Mansion had become the mansion of Lin Xian and the others. The young man who had been suppressed before was taught a lesson and tortured by them, and then became their subordinate. Nalan Liang went out to investigate. When he came back, his face was a bit ugly. Damn it, these guys said that the police were despicable. Don't they know that the Dragon Palace is the despicable one? The dark red dragon, and the others also gritted their teeth. Wasn't it just challenging the 90th person? Lin Xian destroyed the 90th person with a single glance. Don't these people know? The young man who had been suppressed by them was called Yu Run. At this moment, he was also impressed by Lin Xian's strength and said respectfully, "Only a few of us saw young Master Lin defeating Mo Duxing. The others didn't see it. Mo Duxing definitely wouldn't tell anyone, so it's normal that no one knows. With young Master's strength, if you want to become famous, you can directly challenge him. Go to the ancient battlefield to fight. At that time, the entire Dao sect will know. Kid, with your strength, you can easily take down the stars list." Toad said. Nalan Liang and the others also nodded. However, Lin Xian shook his head. He wasn't interested. The dark red dragon asked, "Is the new list too weak? Why don't you challenge the Jade list? At that time, you can directly take down the Jade list. Let's see if these people still dare to be arrogant." However, Lin Xian still shook his head. He wasn't interested. The dark red dragon gasped. "You can't be thinking of directly challenging the Xian list, right?" Yu Run was also stunned. The Xian list. Those people on the Xian list were the top existences who could contend with the great sage. Such people were so heaven-defying that they stood at the peak of the Sage King realm. Although Lin Xian was strong, he was still an early-stage Sage King. Moreover, the gap between the stars list and the Xian list was really too big. Lin Xian said, "My goal isn't these lists, but the Sacred Abyss Tower. I want to directly challenge the Sacred Abyss Tower." In the past few days, through Yu Ren's introduction, he also understood that the three places of inheritance all had the Stars list, Jade list, and Xian list, which represented the strength of the disciples in each orthodoxy. In addition, there was also the Sacred Abyss Glory list. It wasn't limited to the three orthodoxies, but the experts in the entire Sacred Abyss city. The Sacred Abyss Glory list was ranked according to the strength of the people in the Sacred Abyss Tower. The current number 1 was Kuan Pingzi, Bei Ming. He had successfully reached the top, and was crowned as the Crown King. He was currently number 1. The second on the glory list was the Dragon Prince, Long Wu. These two people were far superior to the others. There were a total of floors in the Sacred Abyss Tower. As long as one could successfully reach the first floor, they would be able to enter the list. As the number of floors increased, the speed of improvement and various comprehensive data would be displayed. The ranking would be carried out. Lin Xian's goal was to become a great emperor. Moreover, he didn't care about the average genius experts. He wanted to compete with the top experts like the Dragon Prince and Kuan Pengzi. Therefore, Lin Xian didn't plan to compete for the top 3 rankings in the Feng Dao sect. Instead, he wanted to directly challenge the Sacred Abyss Glory list. Chapter 47-71. Nalan Liang and the rest gasped when they heard that. To be honest, their current goal was the Star ranking and the Jade ranking. They didn't even dare to think about the Xian ranking. However, Lin Xian's goal was the Sacred Abyss Tower. It had to be said that they were from 2 different worlds. Kid, you have your own ideas. However, since you don't want to go to the Star ranking and Xian ranking, we'll start. The dark red dragon said. Lin Xian nodded. Sure, be careful. We're still accumulating strength. Don't find trouble with the Dragon Prince right away. His realm is too high now. Let's increase our strength first. It's best to establish our own organization and dismantle the Dragon Palace bit by bit. Believe me, both the Dragon Palace and the Dragon Prince will go to hell. Yeah. The dark red dragon nodded. Next, they were ready to split up. Yu Run was responsible for staying behind and waiting for Baizhen. After all, Baizhen had used his identity to confiscate their residence and their resources as newcomers. When they returned, they would settle the score. They would let Baizhen know what regret was. Lin Xian left the Dao sect and headed to the Sacred Abyss Tower. The Sacred Abyss Tower was very famous in the Sacred Abyss ancient city. It hung above the 9 heavens, and one could see it without asking. Lin Xian flew all the way to the Sacred Abyss Tower, and finally arrived near it. He felt the terrifying aura coming from above, and took a deep breath. There weren't many people around because there weren't many who had the strength to come to the Sacred Abyss Tower. However, each of them was very powerful. Lin Xian, who was a mid-stage Saint King, immediately attracted attention. A few gazes looked over and discussed. Some sneered. How dare you come to the sacred Abyss Tower with such a cultivation? You must be tired of living. In their opinion, even if you were a top genius, you should at least be at the peak of the Saint King realm. At the very least, you should be a late-stage Saint King realm. A mid-stage Saint King realm was too difficult. It was not enough. The few people in front were arrogant as they moved forward quickly. Lin Xian looked calm and ignored these people. How could ants know the thoughts of dragons? When he arrived at the Sacred Abyss Tower, he was stopped because entering the Sacred Abyss Tower required Saint Crystals. He didn't know that. Yuren didn't tell him, but thinking about it, it made sense. With Yuren's strength, his goal in life was probably the Stars ranking or the Jade ranking. The Holy Abyss Tower was something that the other party had never thought about, so naturally, he wouldn't pay attention to. Of course, he didn't know what the conditions were. Lin Xian frowned slightly. The people who had been mocking him stopped once more and turned their heads to look at him. They all began to laugh. Haha, I'm dying of laughter. This brat doesn't even have Saint Crystals, yet he wants to come to the Holy Gulf Tower. I don't know which mountain he came from, but he came here to try his luck after knowing that the Sacred Abyss Tower is a holy land. However, how could there be such a good thing in this world? A person like him probably wouldn't have the qualifications to enter this place in his entire life. The two people in front of him sneered and looked down on him. Lin Xian raised his head, golden light flashing in his eyes. Boom. Puff. A powerful soul pressure instantly rushed out. Their souls shook as if they were being torn apart. Both of them coughed out blood and retreated. Their faces turned pale. Damned ant, you dare to sneak attack me? Do you believe that I won't kill you? The murderous aura from the two men was overwhelming. There was even a dragon aura surrounding them. The surrounding people were also shocked. Someone actually dared to attack outside the Holy Gulf Tower? Lin Xian was also surprised. These people actually had the aura of the Tao of Dragon. Were they from the dragons? However, he quickly denied that possibility. They weren't from the dragons, but they should be from the Tao sect or the Dragon Palace. It seemed that the Dragon Prince must have given these people some benefits when he established the Dragon Palace. His guess was right. The Dragon Palace was established by the Sacred Dragon Prince. The surrounding people had joined the Dragon Palace to follow the Dragon Prince. However, they also had to get benefits. Otherwise, no one would follow the Dragon Prince. Therefore, entering the Dragon Palace would give one the power of Dragon Aura. The greater the contribution to the Dragon Palace, the greater the Dragon Aura one would receive. Those who made outstanding contributions would even be taught the Dragon Palace's secret techniques by the Dragon Prince. The two men in front were indeed from the Dragon Palace. One was called Zhou Yifeng, and the other was called Qing Lu. Both of them had terrifying strength and were on the Xian ranking. They were also super experts in the Dragon Palace. When had they ever suffered such injuries? At this moment, they were enraged. Damn brat, how dare you sneak attack us? Lin Xian sneered. Am I not an ant in your eyes? You are high and mighty. Why would you be afraid of an ant sneak attack? Since you were injured by me, it means that you aren't much. What right do you have to look down on me? Zhou Yifeng and Qing Lu were trembling with anger. Arrogance, he was too arrogant. Brat, offending us will end badly for you. The two of them walked up, releasing a sharp killing intent. The surrounding people were also surprised. They didn't expect Lin Xian's soul to be so strong. However, they soon shook their heads and sighed. They knew Zhou Yifeng and Qing Lu. They were both experts at the peak of the Saint King realm. If the two of them worked together to deal with a mid-stage Saint King, the other party would definitely not be able to resist. Lin Xian's face darkened. Were they from the Dragon Palace? He didn't mind killing them here. Stop. However, at this moment, a cold shout was heard. A man walked out of the Holy Gulf Tower. He was wearing a flaming armor and had a powerful aura. Zhou Yifeng and Qing Lu were shocked. They quickly bowed and greeted Divine General Sheng Yuan. The others also bowed. Divine General Sheng Yuan. It was a title. He was the person responsible for the safety and order of the Holy Gulf Tower. They had different origins. Some were from great sects, some were from ancient clans, and some were even from the three great orthodoxies. However, Ever since they joined the Holy Gulf Tower and became Divine General Sheng Yuan, they only had one identity, and that was Divine General. Everything they did was to protect the safety of the Holy Gulf Tower. Now that someone was fighting outside, Divine General Sheng Yuan walked out. "How dare you cause trouble here?" he said coldly. Zhou Yifeng and Qing Lu's scalp went numb. "We wouldn't dare. It was this brat who started it." Divine General Sheng Yuan looked at Lin Xian. Lin Xian said with a fist salute, "Greetings, senior. This is my first time in the Holy Gulf Tower, so I don't know the rules. The two of them provoked me first. Isn't the purpose of cultivation to be indomitable and to surpass everything? They should be killed for doubting me." The surrounding people were shocked. This brat was bold to say such arrogant words in front of Divine General Sheng Yuan. However, Divine General Sheng Yuan was stunned. He nodded slightly. Unyielding, neither servile nor overbearing. The path of martial arts was the wind. It was rare to see such a proud young man. "Since it's your first time here and you don't know the rules, I won't pursue the matter." The surrounding people went crazy when they heard that. One had to know that there were people who fought near the Holy Gulf Tower in the past, but they were immediately killed by Divine General Sheng Yuan. Chapter 47-72. The Divine General's words were shocking. However, Divine General Sheng Yuan was a godlike existence here. They didn't dare offend him, so they could only leave. Zhou Yifeng didn't even dare to enter the Holy Abyss and return to the Dao sect. Divine General Sheng Yuan also turned to enter the Holy Abyss Tower, but Lin Xian shouted, "Senior, please wait." Divine General Sheng Yuan turned around and asked, "What do you want?" This is Junior's first time here, and didn't know that Saint Crystals were needed to enter. "Senior, can you lend me a few? I'll pay you back tenfold." The people around went crazy when they heard this. It was the first time they had seen someone target Divine General Sheng Yuan. Was he tired of living? Divine General Sheng Yuan was also stunned. "I can lend you some, but what if you can't pay me back?" Lin Xian said. "I'm a disciple of the Dao sect. Even if I can't pay you back tenfold, I'll pay you back with resources or treasures of equal value." "Someone from the Dao sect?" Divine General Sheng Yuan narrowed his eyes. The Dao sect had produced an interesting kid. Everyone else went crazy. When did the Dao sect produce such a lunatic? Good. The Divine General smiled. "You've got my interest. Tell me, how many Saint Crystals do you want?" Junior really doesn't know the rules of the Holy Abyss Tower. Divine General Sheng Yuan said that it costs 10 Saint Crystals to enter the Holy Abyss Tower each time. In addition, Saint Crystals are needed to enter every level of the Holy Abyss Tower. 10 for the first level, 10 for the second level, 10 for the third level, and so on. You'll also receive a reward for every level you pass. Passing the first level gives you a Saint Crystal, passing the second level gives you a Saint Crystal, and so on and so forth. Depending on the level you're on and the time you pass, you'll be ranked on the Holy Abyss Glory Board. You'll also receive different rewards based on your ranking. You'll understand after you enter. I don't need to explain it in detail. Since you've just arrived, I'll give you a Saint Crystal first. 1 to enter the Holy Abyss Tower, and 10 to enter the first level. But you'll have to pay me a Saint Crystal. Have you thought it through? Thank you, Senior. I've thought it through. The Divine General flipped his hand and threw a bag to Lin Xian. There was a Saint Crystal inside. "Give me one back in a year's time. If you can't do it, don't blame me for going to the Dao sect and looking for you personally." This was only natural. Lin Xian held the Saint Crystal and smiled. In his opinion, he wouldn't even need a year. In 3 months, he would be able to repay the other party tenfold. Then Divine General Sheng Yuan left. The others looked at Lin Xian as if they were looking at a monster, and left one after another. Lin Xian took the Saint Crystal, and paid 10 before entering the Sacred Abyss Tower. After entering, he sighed. As soon as they entered, they were greeted by a vast hall. There were many people inside who were exchanging experiences or resting. At the side of the hall, there was a staircase that should lead to the first floor. I wonder what's on the first floor of the Sacred Gulf Tower. Lin Xian thought as he walked up. At the same time, 3 figures walked down from above, discussing as they walked. Damn it, they didn't expect the first level to be so terrifying. That's right, I spend a lot of money just to buy 10 Saint crystals. Originally, he thought that he would be able to pass. But now it seemed that it was a pity. It couldn't be helped. That flying python was really too fast. It surpassed us and we couldn't hit it at all. Several people shook their heads and sighed. Their faces were filled with disappointment. It seemed that it was their first time entering the sacred abyss tower, and they had failed. In front of the two people, there was a middle-aged man who laughed. If it was the first time, it would be fine after a few more times. Obviously, he was their elder and was very experienced. At this moment he was giving advice to the two people. Generally, these people were led by their elders. There were very few people who came alone like Lin Xian, and didn't know about Saint crystals. The first level, Flying Python. Speed. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. The two people who had been defeated were both peak Saint Kings and should be young geniuses. If even such people couldn't pass, this sacred abyss tower was indeed challenging. Thinking of this, he took a deep breath and walked to the first floor. There was a door on the first floor. It shone with a holy radiance. Lin Xian placed 10 Saint crystals on it. The door opened and Lin Xian walked in. After entering, he found that there was a strange world inside. It was an independent space. In front of him was a plain that stretched as far as the eye could see. Lin Xian walked up and looked around cautiously. A gust of wind swept past, and the void behind him cracked open. A terrifying aura rushed towards him. Lin Xian turned around and struck out with his palm. However, his palm hit empty air. The light hit him and sent him flying. Boom! He flew out for a long distance and blasted the ground into a canyon. Lin Xian stood up, his brows furrowed tightly. What incredible speed! It was almost as fast as the speed of light. Buzz! No figure appeared, only a low sound of something breaking through the air. Then, there were tens of thousands of sounds coming from Lin Xian's body. He kept retreating and his face turned gloomy. A mere flying python wanted to break through his defense? What a joke! With a roar, his body bloomed with light. With a clang, a black shadow retreated. Lin Xian saw it clearly this time. It was a giant python about 2 meters long with almost transparent wings on its back. It was flapping at high speed. At this moment, cracks appeared on the python's tail. It was Lin Xian's counterattack that injured it. With another whoosh, the cracks on the tail healed, and the flying python disappeared again. Lin Xian sneered. Back then, his heavenly secret divine eye could capture the speed of light, let alone this flying python. And now he was much stronger than before. Lin Xian stood there, and didn't seem to be defending himself. However, his eyes were moving quickly. He was able to capture every movement of his opponent. The next moment, a golden heavenly steel diagram appeared in his eyes. Reincarnation suppress. The heavenly secret divine eye bloomed, and the power of reincarnation appeared, forming 2 reincarnation millstones to suppress. With a bang, the flying python's body was sent flying. It was smashed into pieces. It let out a crazy roar. However, it was useless. Soon it was suppressed by the 2 reincarnation steels. Its body gradually faded, and the law of heaven and earth that it formed gradually disappeared. Lin Xian kept the reincarnation steel. The next moment, a light gate appeared in front of him, and at the same time, a Saint crystal floated. Obviously, this meant that he had passed the first level. After putting away the Saint crystal, Lin Xian stepped into the light gate and entered the second level. After entering, it was still an endless plain. At the same time, a golden waterfall floated in front of him, blooming with thousands of rays of light. It was full of names, and the first one was Kunpengzi. The second one was the Dragon Prince. Looking down, Lin Xian took a deep breath. This was the Holy Gulf Glory list. To be engraved on it undoubtedly represented supreme glory. Chapter 47-73. Lin Xian realized that some of the names on the leaderboard were very interesting, which meant that they might not be real names. They could use a title. For example, Kunpengzi was a title. His real name was Dark North. Most people would call him Kunpengzi, and only the people closest to him would call him Dark North. Since that was the case, Lin Xian did not plan to engrave his name on the leaderboard. He planned to give himself a title. He was designated by the Purple Mansion sect as someone from the immortal burial ground, which was not tolerated by the immortal Tao. Since he was abandoned by the immortal Tao, he would walk the path of the immortal Tao. Lin Xian waved his finger and engraved his title on the leaderboard. Mad God. The leaderboard shone brightly, and the name was engraved at the last place. That was Lin Xian's current ranking, which was 13,020. In other words, there were only so many people on the leaderboard. It seemed like a lot, but it was actually very little. One had to know that the leaderboard was not only for the younger generation. Many older experts, including the great sage, were on the leaderboard. There were more than 10 billion people in the entire Holy Abyss ancient city. How many people could come to the Holy Abyss Tower? They were definitely the top geniuses. However, even if these top geniuses wanted to successfully enter the leaderboard, it would be 1 in 10,000. Some geniuses could not even break through the first level in their entire lives. When the name Mad God appeared on the leaderboard, the people in the Great Hall exclaimed, "Look, a newcomer entered the leaderboard." The people in the Great Hall were all alarmed and went to investigate. This person was called Mad God. What an arrogant name. However, he was currently in last place, which meant that he had just broken through the first level. Were there any newcomers recently? Some experts exclaimed. Those who could enter the leaderboard, even if they were in last place, were worthy of their attention. Some people said that there were too many. Although there were very few people who could come here, there were still quite a lot of them. People from the 3 great orthodoxies, the clan of the ancients, the great sects, and even itinerant cultivators were all possible. Although the possibility was very small, there were definitely 1 or 2 of them. Therefore, no one knew who it was. Some people said that it was not a problem. They would wait here, and when the time came, he would definitely come out. Everyone nodded and did not leave, waiting in the Great Hall. In their opinion, it wouldn't be long before the other party came out. Just because the other party could pass the first floor, it did not mean that they could pass the second floor as well. The difference in strength between each level was huge. But after waiting for a long time, they still didn't see him. What's going on? Could it be that this guy has already been defeated and left? Or was he going to continue attacking the second level? Some people were puzzled. Someone went to look at the list, and was so shocked that he almost knelt on the ground. Not good. Look at Mad God, his position has changed. What's wrong? Could it be that he had already broken through to the second level? Many people gasped. From the looks of it, this Mad God was no simple character. His position could rise quite a bit, and he might be able to rank around 12,000. However, when they looked at the honor roll, they were stunned. Damn it, what's going on? His opponent has already reached the rank of 9,705. In such a short period of time, the other party had jumped 3,000 ranks. Who could tell me what had happened? Damn it, could there be a problem with the honor roll? They had never seen such a scene before. One had to know that some people couldn't surpass the 3,000 ranks even after decades. But now, did the other party have half a day's time? He had achieved it. Who knew who this Mad God was? Damn it, from the looks of it, he had already broken through to the 10th level. Impossible. Some people couldn't accept it at all. They had never seen such a terrifying powerhouse. However, some people frowned. It wasn't impossible. There were 2 possibilities. First, he was a great sage. Moreover, he was a new great sage. Such a person had instantly jumped 3,000 ranks and reached the 10th level. There shouldn't be a problem. As soon as these words were said, everyone nodded. That was indeed the case. A great sage's strength was very terrifying. Was there any other possibility? If he was a young man. As soon as these words were said, many people fell silent. Among the younger generation, even those as strong as Kuan Pengzi and the Dragon Prince had yet to become a great sage. They were only standing at the peak of the Holy King realm. In other words, no matter how strong this young man was, he was only a holy king. It was too shocking for a holy king to achieve such a battle record. I've only seen this situation with Kuan Pengzi and the Dragon Prince. In other words, the other party might be another emperor's son. Of course, even if he wasn't an emperor's son, he wouldn't be far off. Everyone was shocked, and their scalps went numb. This Mad God was a figure comparable to an emperor's son. There weren't many emperors in the entire universe. Could it be that the third disciple had come to Holy Abyss Ancient City? Who was it then? The Yi family? The Gu family? The Phoenix family? Or the Qilin family? Everyone guessed. However, they didn't know at all. This made them even more confident. Everyone wanted to know who this mad god was. They decided to continue waiting. On the 10th level of the Holy Abyss Tower, Lin Xian put away the 200 holy scriptures in front of him, and then entered the light door in front of him. He continued to fight on the 11th level. Although the first 10 levels were difficult, it wasn't a problem for Lin Xian at all. He killed all the way until he reached here. When he entered the 11th level, the surrounding scenery changed. It was no longer a plain, but a flaming mountain. Moreover, the opponents that appeared were much stronger than before. It seemed that the 10th level was a watershed that could stop most people. A flaming crocodile walked out of the flaming mountain. He held a giant axe in his hand, and monstrous demonic flames burned the 9 heavens. He charged over forcefully. Lin Xian snorted coldly, and didn't use anything else. He pushed the 9 Yang divine body to the extreme and fought with him. The two sides exchanged 10 moves. The flaming crocodile's body shattered and turned into endless flames. It dissipated between heaven and earth. Lin Xian let out a long sigh of relief. The flames of his opponent's death were absorbed by his 9 Yang divine fire, causing his physique to become stronger than before. As expected of the Holy Abyss Tower, he could feel the obvious increase in his strength during the battle. It was no wonder that countless people wanted to come to this holy land. He continued to the 12th level. Lin Xian attacked all the way, either using sword techniques, laws I techniques, physique, or various methods. Finally, he reached the 20th level, and it only took half a day. The people outside went crazy. This was because they discovered that Mad God's ranking had risen from 9,700 all the way to 6,200. Some people fainted directly, but more people rushed over when they heard the news. For a moment, the hall was filled with people. One had to know that each level of the Holy Abyss Tower had its own space and could be said to be incomparably vast. However, it seemed a little crowded at this moment. One could imagine how many people had come. Chapter 4774. 6200 20th floor. Everyone was dumbfounded when they saw this result. Would he be able to continue walking down this path? Many people were looking forward to it. If the other party's strength was on par with theirs, they would naturally be jealous and even gnash their teeth. However, the other party had already shown that his talent far exceeded theirs. He was an existence that was close to the Emperor's realm. They could only be envious of such a person. Because one of them was in the sky while the other was on the ground. They were people from 2 different worlds. Therefore, these people's mentality changed. They now wanted to see how far this person could go. After all, the difficulty of the Sacred Abyss Tower would increase significantly with each level. And every 10 floors was another watershed. Therefore, the floors below the 20th floor and above were 2 different worlds. Lin Xian naturally felt it too. Previously, he could easily kill in a few moves, but now he had to put in a lot of effort. It would often take dozens of moves to end the battle. In the end, he even had to use many kinds of secret techniques. On the 30th floor, it was even more terrifying. Previously, the opponents on each floor of the first 30 floors appeared. The 30 figures were extremely terrifying. They covered the sky and covered the earth as they charged towards Lin Xian. A great battle broke out in an instant. Divine Body, Taiji Diagram, I Technique Sword Qi. Lin Xian fought a decisive battle, and finally killed all his opponents. Next he entered the 31st floor. On the 31st floor, the pressure was even more terrifying. Moreover, Lin Xian had consumed a lot of energy during the previous battles. The secret technique used by the powerhouse on the 31st floor was the Mountain River Seal. It was extremely terrifying. Lin Xian felt that it was not weaker than the Human Ruler Seal and the Mountain Embracing Seal. After a great battle, he still defeated the other party. After putting away the 620 scriptures in front of him, Lin Xian looked at the light door in front of him, and did not continue. This time, he was only here to explore and see what kind of existence the Sacred Abyss Tower was. Moreover, After fighting for so long, he knew that it would be even more difficult to go further. If he continued to fight, he might as well go back and cultivate. On the 30th floor he had gained a lot of insights, so Lin Xian did not plan to continue fighting. In front of him, the Holy Abyss Glory Proclamation descended, and he found that his ranking and battle record had already appeared. Mad God, level 31, rank 3000. It seemed that the remaining 10,000 or so people were all below the 30th level. The 30th floor was a huge dividing line. Beyond that, one would most likely be an expert among experts. Thinking about it, Lin Xian would not dare to be careless in the future. Taking a deep breath, he collected all the rewards that belonged to this ranking. This was a huge amount of wealth, and even Lin Xian was shocked. Lin Xian sighed in amazement. 5 elements supreme grade spiritual pulse, a pill refined by a great sage level alchemist. It was a precious metal used to forge great sage artifacts, as well as other treasures of heaven and earth. Lin Xian felt that this was enough to make anyone jealous. Even his eyes were a little red. Collect them all. This was truly a great harvest. It seemed that if he had the time in the future, he would continue to challenge the Sacred Abyss Tower. This time, his ranking had increased, his strength had increased, and there were new battle insights, in addition to a lot of resources. Lin Xian was very satisfied and left the Sacred Abyss Tower. When he arrived at the main hall, he was shocked. What was going on? The main hall was filled with people as if something big had happened. After he came down, he was instantly stared at by countless people. Lin Xian felt his hair stand on end. No matter how strong he was, he probably couldn't beat the overwhelming number of experts. Were these people here for him? Someone came down, and countless people looked at Lin Xian. Some experts' eyes flickered, and then they frowned. Middle stage Holy King, it definitely wasn't him. Yes, it should be someone else. That person hadn't come yet. These people retracted their gazes. Lin Xian breathed a sigh of relief. He walked forward and asked, "Friend, what's the matter? Why are so many people here?" When the person in front saw that Lin Xian was a middle-stage Holy King, he didn't suspect much and said, "You just came out of the Sacred Abyss Tower, right? Let me tell you, something big has happened." Not long ago, a newcomer called Mad God went in. He reached the 31st floor in one go and got the 3000th place. This is simply heaven-defying. Lin Xian was stunned. "Mad God, isn't he talking about me?" he asked. "Is this ranking very shocking?" He felt that it was very ordinary. After all, there were 99 floors in the Sacred Abyss Tower, and he had only reached a third of the 31st floor. The young man in front turned his head and looked at Lin Xian, as if he was looking at an idiot. "What do you mean by amazing? How amazing is this?" There were more than 13,000 people in the Sacred Abyss Tower, and more than 10,000 of them were below the 30th floor. How many years of hard work did they have to go through to achieve this? But now, this mad god had been here for 2 days, and he had left more than 10,000 people behind. He reached the 31st floor. "Brother, how heaven-defying is this?" This was a feat that only Kuan Pengzi and the Dragon Prince could do back then. Lin Xian was shocked when he heard that. He finally understood. It seemed that what he had done was even more shocking than he had imagined. Sure enough, Lin Xian heard a lot of discussions from the people around him. Some people said that this was the great sage of a certain family or sect who was coming to compete for the rankings. Some people said that this was the arrival of other princes who wanted to stir up a storm in the Sacred Abyss Tower. After hearing this, his expression became very interesting. At the same time, he heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he had used the title of Mad God before. Otherwise, if he had used his real name, this group of people would probably have killed their way to the Dao sect the next day. It seemed that it was better to keep a low profile. Lin Xian did not have a peerless bloodline or a terrifying background like Kuan Pengzi and the Dragon Prince. If his identity was discovered in advance, perhaps even the 2 princes would want to kill him. Therefore, Lin Xian did not want to fight the princes head-on before he had absolute strength. Although there was still a gap between him and the Dragon Prince and Kuan Pengzi, he believed that given time, with his strength and talent, it would not be long before he could compete with the princes. He might even surpass the princes. "Little guy, you're out." At this moment, a voice came from behind Lin Xian. Lin Xian turned his head and saw a man in mighty armor appear. He hurriedly bowed and greeted the Divine General. Divine General Sheng Yuan nodded. Then he asked, "How was it? How were your results this time? Did you reach the 5th level?" In his opinion, Lin Xian was indeed talented, but his cultivation was still too weak. It was already a miracle that he could break through the 1st level with such a cultivation. The 5th level was the highest evaluation he could give Lin Xian. After all, Lin Xian was probably the only mid-stage sage ruler who had come to participate in the Sacred Abyss Tower. Seeing Lin Xian's strange expression, Divine General Sheng Yuan said, "Young man, don't be dejected. With your cultivation, it's already unprecedented for you to achieve such results." Chapter 4775. After saying that, Divine General Sheng Yuan looked at the glory ranking in front of him and sighed. Who was this mad god? It was obvious that even he was very interested in Mad God. If he could reach 1/10 of Mad God's strength, he would be able to sweep through everything in his life. These words seemed to be directed at Lin Xian, but it also seemed to be directed at everyone present. However, no one refuted him. Because Mad God had proven everything with his strength, Lin Xian fell silent after hearing this. He had borrowed 20 Saint crystals from the other party, and agreed to return 10 times the amount in 3 months. Now he had more than 600 Saint crystals in his hand, which was more than enough to repay the other party. However, Lin Xian hesitated now. He did not plan to return it immediately because if he took out 200 Saint crystals now, the other party would definitely realize that he was Mad God. It was better to keep this matter a secret for now. Lin Xian bid farewell to the Divine General and left the Sacred Gulf Tower. News of what happened here had already spread. In the Sacred Gulf Ancient City, the 3 major orthodoxies, the clan of the ancients, and the people of the great sects were all paying close attention. They used everything they had to find out who the Mad God was. When Lin Xian returned, he found that many people in the True Path sect were also talking about it. Although most of them had never been to the Sacred Gulf Tower, it did not stop them from being excited. On the Dragon Palace's side, many people gasped when they heard the name Mad God. Should they report it to the Dragon Prince? They felt that a peerless enemy had appeared. At this moment, a figure walked out and said, there was no need to report it to the Dragon Prince. He was only ranked 3000 now. The Dragon Prince was ranked 2nd. The difference between the two was like an ant and a dragon. He was not to be feared at all. Hearing this, everyone bowed and greeted the Dragon Prince. The person in front of them was also a powerhouse of the dragons and a top genius. His identity was extremely unusual. The 10,000 Dragon Court had been passed down since ancient times. Most of its forces were in hibernation and scattered across the universe. It was to preserve the legacy. After all, the appearance of every great emperor was accompanied by countless corpses and seas of blood. After the fall of the great emperor, the families and forces that were suppressed by the earth back then were likely to counterattack. Therefore, the Dragon Emperor had split the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty into several parts, with one part sleeping in the true spirit world. The others were scattered in different parts of the universe. At the same time, one of them remained on the buried Emperor Star. It was the Dragon Sea of the 4 Seas. The Dragon Sea was naturally one of the 4 seas. Although it was not as big as the Black Sea, it was still a very terrifying existence. Dragons naturally existed in the Dragon Sea. This was the branch power of the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty that had always been active. They had always been as powerful as the clan of the ancients. Before that, the Dragon Prince had successfully awakened. From the true spirit world, he brought countless experts of the dragon race to the Dragon Sea. At the same time, the experts of the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty from all over the universe arrived. So this is what happened. The Dragon Prince was the young master of the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty. Other than that, Long Hai had the original Dragon Palace master. Of course, he had become one of the most capable subordinates of the Dragon Prince. And this Long Ao is the son of the original Dragon Sea master, so he is also called the Dragon Crown Prince. His status was similar to that of Leaf Doudenier in radiance and light. It could be said that in the entire 10,000 Dragon Dynasty, his status was second only to the Dragon Prince. Now in the Dragon Palace, he naturally meant what he said. Other than the Dragon Prince, his status was the most terrifying. Long Ao said that there was no need to tell the Dragon Prince about this. The Dragon Prince only had one opponent, and that was Kuanpingzi. The others were not qualified at all. The others in the Dragon Palace said that it was certain. What kind of person was the Dragon Prince? Some people said that although Mad God was powerful, he was nothing compared to the Dragon Prince. Not only that, but he was also far from being comparable to the Dragon Crown Prince. Dragon Crown Prince, you just haven't gone to the Holy Gulf Tower yet. Otherwise, your fame would definitely surpass that of Mad God. Compliments sounded one after another. Long Ao laughed out loud. That was natural. Mad God? I don't care about him at all. Indeed, at his level of strength and status, he only had two targets in his eyes, the Dragon Prince and Kuanpingzi. Especially Long Huangzi, who was Long Ao's lifelong goal. In addition to the True Path sect, the Heaven sect and the Earth sect were also discussing. The Heaven sect was surprised. They didn't expect such a terrifying expert to appear in the Holy Gulf ancient city. They wondered if he was qualified to challenge Kuanpingzi. Some people sneered. What a joke. Kuanpingzi had already reached the peak and was crowned as the king of the crown. Even the Dragon Prince was no match for him, let alone Mad God. Some people said that he couldn't be underestimated. Although he was only ranked 3,000 now, he had surpassed most of the experts and geniuses. Moreover, it was his first time entering the Holy Gulf Tower. Who knew how far he could go in the future? Back then, when the two princes entered the Holy Gulf Tower, they were only slightly stronger than him. Everyone was expressing their opinions about the legend of the Mad God. Lin Xian had quietly returned to the True Path sect. When he returned to his residence, Yu Run and Nalan Liang came up and said, "Young Master Lin is back. How was it?" Lin Xian said, "Not bad. Where are Toad and Ruffian Dragon?" They went out to inquire about the news. "Did you know that something big happened while you were away? A guy called Mad God soared into the sky. Now the entire Holy Gulf City is talking about him. Damn, this is incredible." Toad jumped in from outside and said, "Mad God is too awesome." The dark red divine dragon also flew over and stared at Lin Xian with a suspicious look on its face. "Kid, you died in the Holy Gulf Tower, right? What kind of battle results did you achieve? Hurry up and say it. That Mad God can't be you, right?" Nalan Liang and Yu Run were stunned when they heard this. Mad God was this Lin Xian in front of them? That's impossible. Although they knew that Lin Xian was very strong, no matter how strong he was, could he reach Mad God's level? The Holy Gulf Glory List and their stars ranking were two completely different worlds. Lin Xian said, "I didn't expect to cause such a big commotion. Fortunately, I only used a title before. Otherwise, our residence would have been trampled." "It's really you." Toad jumped up. The dark red dragon said, "I knew it. Who else could cause such a commotion besides you?" Nalan Liang and Yuran were completely stunned. This news was like a bolt of lightning to them. It was too shocking. Lin Xian said, "All right, it's enough for you to keep this matter to yourselves. You can't tell anyone. Understand?" The dark red dragon and Toad nodded, but Nalan Liang was puzzled. "Why, brother, if your identity is revealed, the True Path sect will definitely treat you like a treasure." Chapter 4776. Lin Xian said, "The tallest tree in the forest is the first to be destroyed by the wind. Although I'm not afraid of trouble, this time, our enemy is extraordinary. For now, I have to keep my identity." Nalan Liang and Yuran were stunned. Enemy? What kind of enemy? Even a terrifying existence like Lin Xian was so careful. Lin Xian looked at the two of them and said, "Knowing this won't do you any good. If you don't know, you can still leave my faction. But once you know, I'm afraid you can forget about leaving my faction." Nalan Liang said, "Brother, what are you saying? If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have the right to enter the Dao sect. I treat you as a friend and I won't back down. No matter how dangerous it is, I will stand with you and fight together." "Good, then we're brothers." Lin Xian nodded and smiled, then looked at Yuran. Yuren said, young Master Lin, I don't dare to call you brother. But I admire your strength. I've decided to follow you and be your follower. If there is betrayal, heaven and earth will not tolerate it. Good. Lin Xian smiled. Then we're on the same side. Lin Xian's eyes flashed. He knew that his faction was still very weak. Since the Dao sect allowed him to form his own faction, Lin Xian wouldn't be polite. He would eventually create his own faction to contend with the Dragon Palace, so he naturally needed a lot of helpers. Lin Xian waved his hand, forming an array that sealed the entire residence. He said, listen well. Our main goal this time is to deal with an enemy, and this enemy is the Dragon Prince. What? Nalan Liang and Yuren were stunned. Even though they were mentally prepared, when they heard the enemy's name, they were still shocked. The Dragon Prince, that was the Emperor's son. With such terrifying strength and unparalleled future achievements. Who would dare to treat such a person as an enemy? But now, Lin Xian had personally said that their enemy was the Dragon Prince. As for the reason? Do you know of someone called Long Guang? Nalan Liang was stunned. But Yuren's pupils suddenly contracted. Since he said it, he naturally knew. Long Guang was an expert of the dragons. He was very talented and powerful. It was said that his combat strength was above the Dragon Prince. In the Sacred Abyss Tower, he had also reached the 90th level. It was very likely that he would be crowned as the Crown King. It was a pity that he had fallen. Nalan Liang was shocked. Such a person. He had actually fallen. Could it be related to the Dragon Prince? The dark red divine dragon stood out and said, that's right, it was the Dragon Prince who killed Long Guang. We are here to avenge Long Guang. Not only do we want to kill the Dragon Prince, we also want to destroy his Dragon Palace. Destroy all of their forces. The two of them were stunned. They finally understood what kind of pressure Lin Xian and the others were under. That was the son of a great emperor. He was even going to wage war against the entire emperor clan. Taking a deep breath, Nalan Liang and Yuren said, although it's very shocking, we still feel like we're in a dream. But since we have promised, we will never back down, and we will never betray. All right, then let's establish our own organization here together. Lin Xian's eyes burst with a cold light. They had a lot of things to do. Now some of the top geniuses in the entire Dao sect had formed their own forces. Among them, the most terrifying was the Dragon Palace, which accounted for more than half of the geniuses in the Dao sect. It could be seen from the three major lists. 52 people on the Star list were from the Dragon Palace. 66 people on the Jade list were from the Dragon Palace. 49 people on the Xian list were experts from the Dragon Palace. It could be said that the Dragon Palace was too powerful. No one was their opponent. Therefore, Lin Xian decided to let the Dark Red Divine Dragon and the Toad challenge the various experts in the Dao sect. Build up your prestige, and then slowly attract talents. As for him, he would look for other families and sects to cooperate with. After all, if he really killed the Dragon Prince, he would have to face the anger of the entire Emperor clan. He had to find many allies. The group of people quickly discussed in the mansion. They discussed what to do in the future, and decided what to call this force. The Toad said, aren't you from the Heavenly Court? Let's just call it the Heavenly Court. The Dark Red Divine Dragon said, why don't we ask Long Ting to go against the Dragon Palace? The two of them talked for a long time. Then they looked at Lin Xian and said, kid, you decide. Lin Xian's eyes flickered. He said, I'm from the immortal burial. Since I'm immortal, I'll definitely walk the divine path in the future. This time, we'll get rid of many experts and geniuses from the sects and families. Let's call it the Divine Union, the Alliance of Gods. Divine Union. The Dark Red Divine Dragon and the Toad whispered to each other. Then their eyes lit up. All right, let's call it that. From now on, our mansion will be called the Spiritual Mansion. After a few discussions, the Divine Union was established. At first, there were only 5 of them, including Lin Xian. However, in the future, they would definitely grow into a supreme existence that could go against the Dragon Palace and even sweep the world. On the other side, Bai Zhen had returned. He had messed up previously, and was afraid of being punished by the Dragon Palace. Therefore, he had quickly found a mission and carried it out. Now that he was back, He was very careful and prepared to return to his mansion. He thought about how to find an excuse. Should he ask his sister to plead for mercy? He returned to the mountain range in a low-key manner. When he saw the changes in the mansion, he was shocked. He was stunned. Spiritual mansion? That's not right. Isn't this my Bai mansion? Bai Zhen was stunned. He seemed to think that he had come to the wrong place. However, after some investigation, he realized that he was right. This was his mansion. Since when did the name change? Could it be? With a cold snort, he rushed in. However, a bolt of lightning struck him out. Damn it! Even the array had changed. He had a bad feeling. Could it be that someone had forcefully taken over his mansion? In the mansion, Nalan Liang frowned. Someone was attacking the array. He rushed out immediately. Who dared to behave atrociously in the spiritual mansion? The next moment, Bai Zhen was stunned when he saw Nalan Liang. Nalan Liang was equally stunned. It's you. You're finally back. Brother Dragon, Brother Toad, Brother Lin, Bai Zhen is back. Nalan Liang roared. His voice was like thunder. Immediately, Lin Xian and the others, who were cultivating, opened their eyes and rushed out. You're finally back. I've been waiting for you for a long time. Lin Xian's eyes shone with a cold light. Toad and Dark Red Divine Dragon also had cold smiles on their faces. Bai Zhen's face was completely black. He shouted a few times and realized that the old butler and his battle servants did not come out. In other words, these people were no longer there. As for his residence, it was also occupied by these people. Thinking of this, he was furious. He roared, "Damn it, do you want to die? How dare you behave atrociously in my mansion? Kneel down and accept your death." Chapter 4777. Hearing this, the Toad, the Dark Red Dragon, and the others all sneered. Even Nalan Liang and Yuren had strange expressions. Especially Yuren, who had followed Bai Zhen before. Before this, he would definitely be worried about Lin Xian, but now he didn't care at all. Compared to Lin Xian, Bai Zhen was too far away. Damn it! What are you laughing at? Seeing these people's sneers, Bai Zhen felt his hair stand on end. He stared at Yuren and shouted coldly, "You dare to betray me? Get over here." Yuren shook his head and said, "Bai Zhen, you'd better kneel on the ground obediently and apologize to young Master Lin. Otherwise, no one can save you." Apologize to him? What a joke. Today, I'll let him know how powerful I am. Bai Zhen snorted coldly. Kid, you don't really think you can contend against me, do you? Previously, in the trial grounds, I suppressed my cultivation. That's why you guys had the upper hand. Now that I'm using my true strength, you're not my match at all. He snorted coldly, and a terrifying aura bloomed from his body, shaking the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Lin Xian shook his head. You're too weak. I'm not interested. Toad, teach him a lesson. The Toad jumped out. Come, I'll teach you how to be a person. Damn Toad, go to hell. Bai Zhen turned into a bolt of lightning and rushed over. He was already prepared to attack. Even if he couldn't kill these people, he would cripple them. However, he was wrong. Even the Toad was not someone he could contend against. Divine Toad Fist. One fist after another was waved, carrying an extremely terrifying poison as it charged towards Bai Zhen. Bai Zhen was originally filled with killing intent, but after 3 moves, his expression became incomparably ugly. Divine Toad Voice. The Toad roared, and a terrifying toad voice rang out. Bai Zhen's chi and blood roiled, and his ears bled as he fell from the sky. Damn it, what's going on? He couldn't even beat a toad? Just you wait. He turned around and wanted to escape. Want to leave? Heaven Transformation Palm. The Dark Red Dragon sneered and slapped the incoming dragon claw, which turned into a sky and sent him flying. Boom boom. Bai Zhen coughed up another mouthful of blood as he flew backward, his body shattered. He landed on the ground, right in front of Lin Xian. Lin Xian stretched out a foot and stepped on the other party's head. Now, you still dare to be arrogant in front of us? Bai Zhen was so angry that he vomited blood. He was really crazy. How could these people be so strong? How should he deal with this brat? Why don't we just kill him? The Dark Red Dragon arrived. Bai Zhen was terrified. You can't kill me. The Tao sect had a rule that disciples of the same sect could not kill each other. Toad kicked Baizhen's face. You know the rules of the Tao sect. You've tried to kill us time and time again. How dare you use your status to suppress us? He said that we should get a mansion and resources. After saying that, he used the giant toad slap technique to slap Baizhen. Baizhen was completely beaten into a pig's head. Stop hitting me, sirs. I said, please let me go. Baizhen had no backbone at all. After being tortured, he begged for mercy not long after. I was wrong. I shouldn't have deducted your resources. I shouldn't have given you a mansion where you can't cultivate. Spare me. I'll definitely compensate you. Of course I'll compensate you. We think that your mansion is pretty good. We won't leave. Baizhen spat out a mouthful of old blood. This mansion was given to him by his sister. His sister was an expert on the jade list. That was why she could have such a good mansion. Otherwise, with his status, he wouldn't have the qualifications to be here. Toad, Nalen, the two of you. Follow him and take back the resources that belong to us. Next, the three of them soared into the sky. Not long after, they went to the Tao sect where the resources were managed. Baizhen personally changed the resources for them. Then, they returned with their share of resources. Although they were newcomers, their strength was extraordinary. Therefore, they were given a lot of resources every month. After returning, Baizhen said, Can you let me go now? Lin Xian sneered and handed over his storage ring. Baizhen gritted his teeth. Helpless, he could only hand it over. Then a golden light flew out of Lin Xian's eyes and heavily injured his soul. Baizhen's soul was heavily injured and almost destroyed. He was hovering between life and death. Then Toad used poison to cover his entire body. His organs and foundation were all damaged. Baizhen even had the heart to die. Even if he had heavenly treasures, he wouldn't be able to recover in a short time. Scram! The dark red dragon sent him flying with a slap. Baizhen turned into a ray of light and disappeared. It's a pity that I didn't kill him. The dark red dragon retracted its claws and gritted its teeth. Lin Xian's eyes flashed. It was best not to break the rules in the Tao sect. However, since he was out of the Tao sect, his life and death would be up to fate. Toad sneered. I understand. It seemed that they had to pay attention to Baizhen's movements. Once he left, they could secretly kill him. Baizhen was sent flying and landed in the forest. He endured the injuries all over his body and flew unsteadily towards the Dragon Palace. He shouted, Senior Brother Zilu, save me. The Dragon Palace occupied many spirit veins in the Tao sect. There were forests and mountains everywhere. At the front was the area ruled by Lan Zilu. At this moment, Lan Zilu opened his eyes. The other cultivators in the Dragon Palace also frowned. What was going on? They walked out one after another. In the next moment, they saw a figure fall from the sky. He was covered in blood. His breathing was very weak. Who was this person? They looked over. Then they were shocked. It was Baizhen. What was going on? How did this guy become like this? Lan Zilu frowned too. He wanted to teach him a lesson, but he didn't expect him to be here to ask for punishment. Did he think that he could avoid punishment after severely injuring himself? Lan Zilu asked coldly. Baizhen said, Senior Brother Zilu, I was wrong previously. I accept the punishment. However, this injury wasn't caused by me. It was caused by Lin Xian. It was that guy who injured me. He robbed me of my residence and beat me to a pulp. He even said that the Dragon Palace and Senior Brother Zilu were trash and couldn't withstand a single blow. Damn it. The people from the Dragon Palace were instantly enraged. Lan Zilu's face also darkened. Although he knew that Baizhen might have exaggerated, he didn't care anymore. But he didn't care because he didn't allow anyone to challenge the Dragon Palace. Senior Brother Zilu, I'm going to suppress him. Someone stood out, his eyes shining with a cold light. The others also looked cold. Damn kid. It's time to teach him a lesson. Go. Let him live. Bring him here and let him accept his punishment. Kneel outside the Dragon Palace. I want everyone to know the consequences of going against the Dragon Palace. Lan Zilu's voice was cold. Yes, we know. The three of them sneered. Then they turned into rays of light and rushed into the distance. At the divine talisman, Lin Xian and the rest started to set up arrays. They formed one spirit-gathering array after another. They combined the resources they obtained with the underground spirit veins and started to cultivate. Chapter 4778. You guys go ahead and cultivate. I'll go out and take a look. Lin Xian said. The plan had already been made. The dark red dragon and the toad would be in charge of the sect, while he would be in charge of things outside the sect. Of course, Lin Xian didn't leave the sect, but went to the library. He was going to take a look at the absolute arts here. The library was very special. It was called the Magical Arts Valley. Lin Xian was a new disciple, so he had an extra chance to watch at the beginning. Other than that, he would have to complete some missions if he wanted to read more profound ones. For the first time, Lin Xian didn't need any missions. He chose to watch and cultivate the Dapeng seal. He entered the Magical Arts Valley. He saw a figure casting a seal. His palms formed a seal and turned into a Dapeng, dancing between heaven and earth. The Dapeng soared into the sky. The Dapeng spread its wings. Its power was vast and terrifying. Lin Xian's eyes shone with golden light. At the same time, the dragon sword spirit evolved and started to cultivate the Dapeng seal. On the other side, the dark red dragon and the others were cultivating in the spiritual abode, absorbing the energy of heaven and earth and the aura of the spirit vein. At this moment, heaven and earth shook. The array outside shook violently. At the same time, there was a cold snort. Whoever is inside, come out and accept your death. A cold voice sounded. The dark red dragon opened his eyes and the toad jumped out. Who's courting death again? They all rose into the air and looked outside through the array formation. They saw 3 figures standing outside. Their auras were surging like gods and demons. Oh no, it's them. Yuren also flew up. When he saw the 3 people outside, his pupils shrank. Brother Dragon, Brother Toad, these 3 are very powerful. They are also experts on the stars ranking. Their ranking is much higher than Baizhen and Emoduxing. Are they experts on the stars ranking again? And they seem to be from the Dragon Palace. Why, are you here to help Baizhen? Kowtow and apologize? Then hurry up and bow. The dark red dragon waved his hand. Courting death. The 3 people outside were Qin Yan, ranked 77th on the stars ranking. Xiashan, ranked 75th on the stars ranking. Lu He, ranked 72nd on the stars ranking. The 3 people's faces were cold. You dare to challenge the Dragon Palace? Come out and accept your punishment. What about that Lin Xian? Tell him to come out and face his death. You want to challenge us with just you? The toad sneered. I'll only use one hand. The dark red divine dragon's expression was also cold. It seemed that it was time to show off its strength. The 3 of you scram. Listen carefully. 3 days later, at the primordial battlefield, we will challenge you. You want to challenge me? They laughed complacently. What a joke. No matter how strong Longjiu was, he only dared to challenge someone ranked 90th. The 3 of them were all ranked in the 70s. They were much stronger than Taizhen Tian. Could these newbies really contend against them? Qin Yan's face was gloomy and cold. He was about to make a move. He felt that Yi Futian was courting death. However, Lu He stopped him. It was fine. He would give them 3 days. 3 days later, he would defeat them in front of the world. Don't you think it's more interesting? Let's see if they still have the face to continue living then. Okay. Qin Yan smiled as well. Enjoy the last 3 days. 3 days later, it will be the day of your death. The 3 of them sneered and left. After returning to the Dragon Palace, they explained the situation. Lan Zilu also nodded. Very good. He would take this opportunity to severely injure or cripple them. At the same time, he sent someone to spread the news. It would be best if everyone could watch. In just one day, the news of the newbies challenge spread again. Someone challenged the 3 in 7 years. Countless people were shocked. Who was it? They were so reckless. Could it be Longjiu again? No, it wasn't Longjiu. It was Lin Xian and the others. They wanted to challenge Lu He and the others. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air when they heard this. Were Lin Xian and the others really going to make a move? Great, they couldn't miss it in 3 days. In the Dragon Palace, in the Spirit Mountain, Lan Jiyu opened her eyes. Were Lin Xian and the others going to challenge Lu Ha? She didn't think that the three of them could succeed. At this moment, she had already joined the Dragon Palace and became a member. She had condensed the aura of the Tao of Dragon. She felt that she had become even stronger. There was no need to watch the challenge in 3 days because she felt that the outcome was already decided. It was better to continue cultivating. When the time came, she would directly challenge the top 50 on the stars ranking and become famous. In the Magical Abilities Valley, Lin Xian was still comprehending the Great Rock Seal. He didn't know what was happening outside. But even if he knew, so what? He wasn't worried. The dark red divine dragon and the toad were very strong. Soon those people would know. 3 days passed quickly. On the primordial battlefield, countless people had gathered. They were discussing and guessing the outcome of the battle. The people from the Dragon Palace walked over. They sneered. There was nothing to guess. Those people would definitely die. No one could defeat the Dragon Palace. That was true. Now that more than half of the True Path Sex geniuses had joined the Dragon Palace, who would dare to challenge them? You're too confident. Wait until you succeed. In the sky, the dark red divine dragon and the others descended. There were 3 of them. The dark red divine dragon, the toad, and Nalan Liang. Yurun was in charge of watching the house. You guys really dared to come. Qin Yan looked at the dark red divine dragon and sneered. He frowned. Just the 3 of you? Where's that Lin Xian? There's no need to look for him. He won't come because the 2 of us are enough to kill you guys. The dark red divine dragon and the toad walked out. This time, it was the 2 of them. There were only 2 of them. The surrounding people were in an uproar. Lin Xian wasn't coming again? A sneer was heard. It seemed that this guy had used despicable means to get first place. That's right. He didn't even dare to participate? On a mountain peak, Baizhen gritted his teeth. That brat wasn't coming? But that was good too. He would deal with the 2 of them first before dealing with that Lin Xian. Cut the crap. The toad jumped out and looked at the 3 people in front of him. Are the 3 of you coming together or one by one? I definitely won't hold back. Do I need the 3 of us to deal with you? I'll do it. Qin Yan walked out. He was ranked 77th on the stars ranking. He stood with his hands behind his back, with flying swords revolving around his feet. He said coldly, I'll give you a chance. Make the first move. Otherwise you won't have a chance. How dare you look down on me? You'll end up in a miserable state. The toad sneered and used the lightning technique. He turned into a stream of light and appeared instantly. Then he used the big toad slap technique and slapped Qin Yan's face with both palms. Qin Yan's face was instantly smashed. He flew out and blood dripped from the sky. He roared crazily, damn it. Go to hell. With a roar, thousands of sword lights flew out from his body. The surrounding people exclaimed. They didn't expect Qin Yan to be at a disadvantage right from the start. Chapter 4779. What? Weren't you going to let me have 3 moves first? Did he make a move so quickly? The toad sneered. Trash who goes back on his word. Qin Yan snorted and said, I take back my words. I don't need to show mercy to trash like you. Go to hell. Sword controlling technique. Qin Yan used his soul to control the sword chi. It was a terrifying sword raining technique. No wonder they were ranked 77th on the stars ranking. Baizhen and Mo Duxing were much stronger. The toad moved quickly like lightning, dodging the imperial sword technique that filled the sky. Then it slapped down with its palm. He smashed one of Qin Yan's arms into a bloody mist. Then he spat out poisonous gas all over the sky and quickly infused it into Qin Yan's body. Qin Yan was shocked. He did not expect his opponent to be so strong. By the time he wanted to fight back, it was already too late. The poison completely exploded in his body. His entire body turned black and he collapsed to the ground. He was bleeding from his 7 orifices. The toad stepped on the other party's face and sneered. You want to fight with me? You are not qualified. The surroundings were silent. What had happened? The battle was over. Wasn't this too fast? Did he have 3 moves? Damn it, Xia Shan rushed over. The people of Dragon Palace also looked gloomy. They checked and then cried out in alarm. They were poisoned, and the poison was very deep. Hurry up and treat her. Soon people from Dragon Palace carried Qi Nian away. Xia Shan walked out with a cold expression. How dare you use poison? Despicable. The toad sneered. So what if he used poison? There were thousands of great Daos, and poison was one of them. How was it despicable? If you're not strong enough, admit defeat obediently, kowtow to me 3 times, call me ancestor, and I'll spare you. The surrounding people sucked in a breath of cold air. This toad was too arrogant. However, they were extremely shocked. That was because the other party was very strong. Being able to defeat Qi Nian was enough to show how strong the other party was. However, Xia Shan was even more terrifying. Could the toad succeed? On the mountain peak in the distance, the dark red divine dragon and the others sneered at this scene. Whitey also hugged the spiritual fruit and squeaked. Toad, come on. Defeat them. I'll give you fruit to eat. Don't worry, I'll kill him in 2 moves. Toad turned around and waved his hand with a smile. Xia Shan shouted angrily. He waved his hands, and the ground cracked open. Countless stone hands flew out. He was an earth-type saint. The toad kept dodging as it sneered. You're no match for me. He spat out a poisonous mist that filled the sky. Xia Shan had long been prepared for this. He unleashed countless shields and earth walls to defend himself. At the same time, he formed a seal with both hands. The seal of myriad mountains. Tens of thousands of mountains descended from the sky, suppressing the heaven and earth, covering the entire battlefield. The toad was also suppressed. It was over. The people of Dragon Palace laughed. Baizhen also revealed a sinister smile. He had finally dealt with one of them. Xia Shan snorted. Qi Nian lost because of his carelessness. Otherwise, how could he have won? Ouch, it hurt so much. You've angered me. Toad, attack. Amidst the mountains, a figure appeared. He turned into a stream of light and rushed over, directly piercing through the thousands of mountains. How could this be? Xia Shan's pupils shrank as he formed seals with both of his palms. An endless wall was formed in front of him to block the attack. 6 shields surrounded him. The strongest defense. Boom. The toad was also using an ultimate skill. It pierced through countless obstacles and landed on the 6-path shield body. The 6 shields were shattered and Xia Shan's body was torn apart. Damn it! Xia Shan retreated. His broken body healed, but his face was still pale. Defeated again. Countless people were shocked. This toad was too powerful. It had defeated 2 experts in a row. The toad jumped up and waved in all directions. Fairies of the Dao sect, I'm still single. I'm staying in the God Manor. Fairies who like me must come and find me. How could this be? Nalan Liang was stunned. The people of Dragon Palace turned black. Damn it. They wanted to use this battle to suppress the other party. Who would have thought that they would be the ones losing face? Xia Shan, come back. I'm impressed. Lu He walked over. He was ranked 72nd and his strength was even more terrifying. The toad jumped back. The dark red dragon walked over. Was there a change? Countless people were shocked. Lu He snorted. Why was the toad afraid of death? Crawling snakes would also die. The dark red dragon roared. Your whole family is the crawling snake. Its body enlarged, turning into a 100-meter-long dragon. It swept across the land. It was actually dragons. Countless people were shocked. Dragons? How could they fight against the people of Dragon Palace? They were too surprised. Lu He shouted angrily. I have the aura of the Tao of Dragons too. There were indeed a few auras of the Tao of Dragons around him. They rushed out, baring their fangs and brandishing their claws, turning into dragon shadows. The dark red dragon sneered. With your Tao of Dragons, you want to fight against an emperor? He activated the blood of the divine dragon. And the few auras of the Tao of Dragons directly collapsed. Lu He's face turned pale. He took a few steps back. Damn it. It seemed that it was impossible to use Dragon Chi in front of the other party. He would use his ultimate skill. Galaxy Blade Light. A blade slashed out, turning into a galaxy that descended from the sky. The dark red dragon sneered. Dragon Blade. Countless scales formed a dragon blade that also slashed out. The two blades collided. Heaven and earth shattered. The ancient battlefield also surged. After one attack, the dark red dragon put away the dragon blade. Lu He's body was cut in half, and he was seriously injured. You can't even withstand a single blow. You want to challenge us with your strength? Are the people of Dragon Palace trash? Countless people were in an uproar. Did he end the battle with one slash? This dragon was too powerful. Was he challenging dragons? What enmity did he have with Dragon Palace? Countless people were shocked. Impossible? Baizhen was horrified. Lu He was also defeated? This group of people was actually so powerful. No wonder he was no match for them. The people of Dragon Palace also had gloomy faces. The 3 experts they sent out had failed one after another. It was a complete slap to their face. Should they continue? Several people were discussing. The situation was unexpected. These 2 guys were very strong, and Lin Xian hadn't appeared yet. Let's go back and report to senior brother Zillo first. The people of Dragon Palace took the injured Lu He and the other 2 and left. The toad sneered. Go back. What Dragon Palace? Let's go. The dark red dragon snorted. This was considered a small test to let the people of Dao sect know that they weren't to be trifled with. Whoever dared to find trouble with them in the future would have to weigh their own strength first. Both parties returned, and the news of this incident spread like wildfire. Countless people exclaimed in surprise. The newcomers who entered this time were really too strong. First, it was Lan Jiyu who succeeded in his challenge. Now it was a dragon and a toad who succeeded in their challenges. For a moment, everyone felt a sense of pressure. At the same time, some people were discussing. What about that Lin Xian? Would he be stronger? The atmosphere in Dragon Palace was a little tense. Lan Zilla's face was cold. Did all 3 of them fail? He didn't dare to believe it. Lan Jiyu also came out of Spirit Mountain. When she heard the news, she also took a deep breath. How could it be? The other party actually defeated Lu He and the other 2 and obtained a higher ranking than her. She gritted her teeth and entered Spiritual Mountain again. If she didn't break through this time, she wouldn't come out. Chapter 4780. In the Magical Abilities Valley, Lin Xian opened his eyes. He had already mastered the Seal of Dapeng. If others knew about this, they would be stunned. This talent was too heaven-defying. One had to know that the previous geniuses had spent a lot of time cultivating the Seal of Dapeng, but Lin Xian was much faster than them. Of course, part of the reason was that Lin Xian was very talented. The other reason was the Dragon Sword Spirit. The Dragon Sword Spirit could deduce these mystic arts, so Lin Xian was able to cultivate with twice the result with half the effort. After leaving the Magical Abilities Valley, Lin Xian browsed through many ancient books in the Dao sect. He knew that there were many sacred places in the Dao sect. Not only that, but there were also sacred places in the Holy Abyss ancient city. Therefore, Lin Xian decided to go to the places where the ancient sages had gone to gain some insight. The Holy Abyss ancient city was very big, and there was a place called the Holy Cliff. It was said that this was the place where many ancient sages went to gain enlightenment. There were even legends that said that the ancient super powerhouses had fought a shocking battle here. Therefore, although the Holy Cliff was full of opportunities, it was also very dangerous and filled with endless killing intent. At the Holy Cliff, there were 2 figures. One was a white-haired old man. The other was a beautiful woman. The old man's face was dark. His body was stained with blood, and it was obvious that he was injured. The woman in black looked anxious. Both of them carried black giant swords on their backs. "Grandpa, are you okay?" Dugu Xiaoyi was very anxious. "Wait until we get back to the family to cure you." Dugu Su sighed. "I'm old and useless. This time, I fell into their trap and got poisoned. But don't worry, I won't die anytime soon." Someone was coming. Dugu Su frowned, and a cold sword light flashed in his eyes. Dugu Xiaoyi became nervous and clenched her fists. Was the enemy here? Deep footsteps came from the front, and then a figure appeared. Dugu Xiaoyi and Dugu Su looked over. They were stunned. They realized that it wasn't the enemy they had imagined, but a handsome young man in black robes. His eyes were deep and profound. Who was this? Was it a new enemy? They looked over, and when they discovered that the other party was only a middle-stage Saint King, both of them let out a sigh of relief. Even if such a person was an enemy, they would not be afraid. From the looks of it, the young man did not seem to be an enemy at all. The young man looked around curiously as soon as he arrived, as if he had come specifically for the holy cliffs. Dugusu retracted his gaze and said in a low voice, "There was no need to bother. The Saint Cliff was the place where the ancient sages descended. It was normal for people to come here to gain insights." As he spoke, he took out a large battle robe from his storage ring and covered his body to cover his blood. Duguxiaoyi also sat down cross-legged and pretended to cultivate. However, she was actually vigilantly observing her surroundings. Was this the Saint Cliff? As expected, there was a mysterious aura. Lin Xian looked around in surprise. He had heard about the uniqueness of the sacred cliffs and had rushed over. After arriving, he felt that there was something unusual about this place. At the same time, he also saw two figures in front of him. Both of them carried huge swords on their backs. They seemed to be swordsmen. What surprised him was that the old man in front of him was not simple, but his aura was very weak. Although the old man was trying his best to suppress it, there was still a black aura on his face. He had been poisoned. However, he could still tell that the old man was injured. With the great sage's cultivation level, he was injured to this extent. It seemed that there had been a great battle. Retracting his gaze, Lin Xian did not continue to pay attention. He found a place and sat down cross-legged to gain insights. Duguxiaoyi heaved a sigh of relief. The other party was not coming for them. Dugusa's expression also eased a lot. He took out a pill and swallowed it. However, the poison in his body was very strange. He could only suppress it for a while but could not expel it. As night fell, the starlight fell from the sky. This made the Saint Cliff even more mysterious, forming a unique vision of heaven and earth. Lin Xian was naturally happy about this. He came here to gain insights. However, Dugusa's face was cold. He was afraid that the poison would act up again tonight. While Duguxiaoyi was guarding him tightly, a cold laugh came from the sky. "So you've been hiding here. However, even if you're at the Saint Cliff, do you think we can't find you?" Two voices were heard. Then, two people descended and sealed the surroundings. "Oh no, the enemy is here." Duguxiaoyi suddenly stood up, his expression changing. Dugusa's eyes also shone with a shocking light. "The two prides of the heavenly sect, you've chased me all the way here." There were two figures. One was wearing armor, the other was wearing a sword robe. They looked young and were top geniuses. Moreover, they seemed to be from the heavenly sect. They were geniuses from the heavenly sect. Duguxiaoyi's pupils shrank. He had naturally heard of these two people. They were top experts on the heavenly sect's profound ranking. The one in armor was called Blue Demon, while the other in a sword robe was called Saber 9. Both of their abilities were terrifying. Duguxiaoyi was no match for them at all. Of course, his grandfather was not afraid of them. However, that was when he was in peak condition. At this moment, his grandfather was seriously injured and poisoned. He could not even use 1% of his strength. Facing these two people now, he was afraid that he would be in danger. "Is the heavens going to kill me?" Despair appeared in Dugusa's eyes. Duguxiaoyi looked around. Their surroundings had been sealed. There was no way to escape, let alone hope for help. Suddenly, she saw a figure at the foot of the mountain in the distance. The man was sitting cross-legged, still cultivating. She sighed. If the other party was also a top powerhouse, that would be great. Even if they could not defeat him, he could help them escape. Unfortunately, the other party was only a mid-stage holy ruler. He could not help them at all. He could not even escape. After the two prides of the heavenly sect landed, they looked around to see if there were any traps or enemies. Southern Demon looked at the foot of the mountain in the distance, surprised. Was there another helper? Saber 9 glanced at him and chuckled. He was probably here to cultivate. There was no need to pay attention to him. Southern Demon said, "No way. We can't let anyone know that we're here. Since he's here, he can only blame himself for being unlucky. How about this? I'll kill him as well later." The two of them did not hide their conversation at all. Obviously, to them, Lin Xian was just a holy ruler. He was no different from an ant. It would be a piece of cake for them to kill him. Dugusu sighed. Forget it. I have nothing to say if the heavens want to kill me. Come at me if you want. However, this young man has nothing to do with me. He's only here to gain enlightenment. Let him go. Chapter 4781. Senior Dugu, how impressive. However, do you still think you're the clan leader of the Dugu clan? You're already severely injured. What right do you have to order us around? Saber 9 snorted. Southern Demon chimed in. Don't even think about letting anyone escape. You'll definitely die. This brat is unlucky, he'll go to hell. As for your granddaughter, she's so beautiful. We won't kill her easily. The two of them laughed triumphantly. Dugu Xiaoyi's face was pale, her eyes filled with despair. Dugu Che roared angrily as well. Since you don't agree, don't blame me for fighting to the death. He roared, his aura erupting. However, he spat out a mouthful of black blood the next second. His body swayed, and he fell to the ground. Ha 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 ha. Saber 9 and Southern Demon laughed. You want to fight to the death with us in your current state? Do you even have the right to do so? The two of them walked forward as they spoke. Dugu Xiaoyi was in despair. She gripped the sword in her hand. She would not let these people succeed even if she had to die. Dugu Che sighed. Xiaoyi, I'm the one who got you into this. You shouldn't have come with me this time. At the same time, Dugu Su looked into the distance and sighed. Young man, I'm the one who got you into this. I hope you don't blame me. He gritted his teeth as soon as he finished speaking. Even if he had to die this time, he would drag her along with him. Southern Demon and Saber 9 walked forward. One of them extended a large hand, grabbing Dugu Xiaoyi while the other charged at Dugu Su. At the same time, Saber 9 waved his hand, and a sword chi charged at Lin Xian in the distance. Lin Xian opened his eyes abruptly. A cold, murderous intent flashed in his eyes. To be honest, Lin Xian did not care about the previous battle at all. As he did not know either party, he did not care. However, Dugu Su was truly kind. He wanted to protect Lin Xian even before he died. Lin Xian was very touched. Moreover, these two heavenly sect geniuses were too arrogant. They wanted to kill Lin Xian while he was comprehending their techniques. If that was the case, Lin Xian could not ignore it. With a wave of his hand, he tore the incoming sword chi apart. The next second, he said coldly, "Both of you, get out of here now or you'll die." The Southern Demon saw that the two were stunned. And Lin Xian. Someone had the audacity to interfere. Who was it? So reckless? Up ahead. Dugu Xiaoyi also opened her eyes. Did an expert come to save them? Dugu Su also had a sliver of hope. However, when they saw that the person who spoke was Lin Xian, they despaired. Dugu Xiaoyi also said, "This fellow should have used this opportunity to escape. Why did he still dare to come?" Saber 9 smirked. "I thought some expert had arrived, but it's just a mid-level holy ruler brat. Do you know who we are? How dare you meddle in our affairs? We are from the Sky Sect and are on the Sky Sect's Xian ranking." The Southern Demon harumphed coldly as well. Initially, he had wanted to deal with these two before giving Lin Fan a quick death. But since that was the case, he would let Lin Fan have a taste of a fate worse than death. He struck out with his palm. They were just ants in the middle stage of the Saint King realm. They could just kill them. The two of them were peak existences. A black palm with terrifying flames and monstrous demonic chi slammed over. Not good. Dugu Xiaoyu despaired. Even a peak stage Saint King would not be able to block this attack, let alone a mid-stage Saint King. Boom. With a single palm strike, the heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. Black demonic chi erupted and enveloped the entire area. It was over. The Southern Demon turned around, intending to continue attacking Dugu Su. However, he was stunned the next moment. A voice came from behind again. "Is this all that the Sky Sect's Xian ranking has? What trash? What? You're not dead." The blue demon was stunned and turned around abruptly. Beside him, Saber 9 was stunned as well. How is that possible? He was well aware of the blue demon's abilities. With this attack, Lin Fan would definitely die. How is he still alive? Even Dugu Xiaoyi and Saber 9 were stunned. Could this young man be an expert? Brat, who exactly are you? Saber 9 asked coldly. He felt that this brat before him was very strange. Lin Xian said coldly, I did not intend to meddle in your affairs, but you even want to kill me. In that case, go to hell. Are you threatening us? You must be tired of living. Saber 9's expression darkened. There's no need for you to live. In a flash, he charged over. He struck with his sword. No one among the Saint Kings could match this strike. A golden glow erupted from Lin Xian's eyes. A pair of heavenly god's eyes appeared. He looked down on all life. Everyone felt a tremendous soul suppression. At this moment, it was as if their souls were about to split apart. How terrifying! Dugu Xiaoyi felt as if her soul was about to be destroyed. A terrifying glow erupted from Dugu's eyes. How is this soul energy possible? Similarly, Saber 9's pupils dilated. This soul energy was too powerful. He could not resist it. He wanted to retreat, but it was too late. The golden eyes in the sky released a reincarnation aura, directly piercing his soul. With a loud crash, the longsword fell to the ground. Saber 9's body fell as well. His aura was gone. What's going on? The blue demon was stunned. His expression turned to despair. Is Saber 9 dead? What kind of power is this? Could this soul be the great sage? Impossible. Isn't he a mid-stage Saint King? How can he possess the great sage's soul? Could it be that he's an old monster? Has his power been suppressed? At this thought, the blue demon was horrified. He turned around and fled. Trying to escape? Lin Xian smirked. The light of reincarnation shot out from his eyes, directly piercing his opponent's soul. Lin Xian's ocular skill was extremely powerful. Moreover, he was not holding back at all. Therefore, there was no way his opponent could resist this attack. The blue demon's soul was instantly destroyed. There was despair in his eyes. He should not have ignored this person. However, he had no right to regret. His body fell to the ground. His soul was destroyed. Is he dead? Dugu Xiaoyi was stunned. These two top geniuses in front of her, powerhouses on the profound ranking, had died just like that? She felt as if she was dreaming. One should know that these two people from before had made her and her grandfather feel despair. They had even thought of perishing together. However, they could not block the other party's gaze. What's going on? She looked at her grandfather. Dugusa took a deep breath as well. He staggered forward. Thank you for your help, fellow cultivator. How should I address you? Dugu Xiaoyi was stunned. Her grandfather was the great sage. Moreover, he was the clan leader of the Dugu clan. His status was extremely noble. Even when facing top geniuses, he was still an elder. However, at that moment, her grandfather was actually addressing this young man as someone of the same generation. In fact, he was even speaking with incomparable respect. She found it unbelievable. However, when she thought of Lin Xian's terrifying gaze, she understood. The person in front of her could not be judged by his age or cultivation base. He was an extremely terrifying powerhouse. Chapter 4782. Dugusu was also shocked. He couldn't see through the young man in front of him. He was a middle sage king, but he had the soul of a great sage. His attacks were swift and decisive, killing in one hit. Such a person was really rare. Perhaps only those few people in the legends could do it. Lin Xian looked at him and smiled. Senior, you're too polite. Senior's kindness and righteousness were admirable. How should I address you? I'm Lin Xian, a disciple of the True Path sect. Lin Xian. Dugusa started to recall, comparing him to those legendary experts. He realized that he had never heard of the name Lin Xian before. But since he was from the True Path sect, could he be a hidden genius of the True Path sect? No matter what, he had to befriend this person. So young master is an expert of the True Path sect. I'll remember your kindness in saving my life. Senior, you're too polite. Lin Xian smiled. Suddenly, he reached out to grab Dugusu. Dugu Xiaoyi was shocked. What's going on? Is he going to attack me? Dugusu's pupils constricted. But in the next moment, he was stunned. He realized that Lin Xian had sent out a ray of sword qi into his body, destroying the poison. Then he retracted it. Lin Quan retracted his hand. The poison in the senior's body was extremely terrifying. It should be an extremely terrifying poison. I've destroyed some of it, but senior needs to go back and recuperate. So he's helping her grandfather suppress his injuries. Dugu Xiaoyi heaved a sigh of relief. But her grandfather was helpless against this poison. Can he do it? Dugu's body trembled. His face was filled with shock. He felt that the threat of the poison had been greatly reduced. That meant that in that instant, more than half of his poison had been destroyed. That was too terrifying. This young man's methods were simply heaven-defying. Thank you, young master. Dugu looked at Dugu Xiaoyi and said, "Come over and thank me." Dugu Xiaoyi walked over and said, "Thank you, young master Lin, for saving me. It's nothing. I still have some things to do, so I'll leave first." Lin Xian nodded and turned to leave. Looking at his back as he left, Dugu Xiaoyi asked, "Grandpa, is he really that powerful? Have you recovered by more than half?" Dugu said, "That's right, he's too terrifying and too mystical. We must befriend this person. How great would it be if he were a genius of our Dugu clan?" Dugu Xiaoyi was shocked. Although they were in danger today, the Dugu clan was still a top-notch clan. How many experts and geniuses were there in the sect? Could it be that none of them were a match for him? Seeing Dugu Xiaoyi's confusion, Dugu Su sighed. You still don't understand his strength. He had completely surpassed Southern Demon and Saber 9 from before. My guess is that he has already reached the level of the Great Sage. More importantly, I've checked before, and he's indeed a mid-stage Saint King. Do you think that an ordinary genius can achieve such heaven-defying battle prowess? He had already surpassed the scope of a genius. This time, Dugu Xiaoyi was truly stunned. Previously, she thought that Lin Xian was suppressing his cultivation, but now it seemed that he wasn't in the middle stage of the Saint King realm. Instead, he had the combat prowess of the Great Sage. How many realms had he crossed? Perhaps even her disciple was only at this level. Dugu Su took a deep breath. He said that he would send a message to the clan, and get the clan's elders to come and settle the matter here. Dugu Xiaoyi nodded, and began to form a formation to send the message. This time, they had to send the clan's experts to protect them. Otherwise, they would be in danger again after avoiding this crisis. Lin Xian returned to the True Path sect. Spiritual abode. He wondered how the Crimson Mountain Dragon and the others were doing. After returning, he found out that the Crimson Dragon and Toad had already challenged the experts on the new ranking list. They had successfully slapped the Dragon Palace in the face. His lips curled into a cold smile. This was just the beginning. Next, these two would probably continue to sweep the ranking list. On the other side, in the Dragon Palace's Spirit Mountain, Lan Jiyu opened her eyes. She stood up and gritted her teeth. Lin Xian, I'll let you know how big the gap between us is. Previously, she had succeeded in challenging the person ranked first, but Lin Xian had instantly challenged the person ranked first. And he had succeeded. The gap between the two sides had widened. Countless people were talking about Lin Xian and the others, thinking that they were more powerful geniuses. How could Lan Jiyu tolerate this? She decided to personally meet this Lin Xian, and then have a duel with him and defeat him directly. This way, everyone would know the gap between the two sides. At the same time, two figures appeared in the sky outside the Holy Abyss City. They stood on the spirit boat and looked at the Holy Gulf City. Their lips curled into a smile. This ancient city. That guy must be inside. The two figures on the boat were a man and a woman. The woman was beautiful and had a noble temperament. It was as if nothing in the world could compare to her. Especially his eyes. There were green flames dancing in them that could burn the 9 heavens. Murong Qingqing's man, Lin Xian, I'd like to see what's so special about you. The mysterious woman snorted with disdain in her eyes. That's just an exaggeration. The man beside her was tall and strong. His eyes danced wildly with a domineering aura, as if he didn't care about anything. He said, "How can you believe Murong Qingqing's words? Besides, she's different from us. We were born in the top clans, but she came from a small place. She was only lucky enough to obtain a heaven-defying bloodline. How high could her standards be back then?" The geniuses in her eyes are probably no different from ants in our eyes. The Qingcheng they were talking about was naturally Morong Qingcheng. The two people's identities were also extremely unusual. The mysterious woman was called Qingfeng, a genius of the Phoenix clan. The burly and arrogant man beside her was an expert of the Tianpeng clan called Bai Lifei. Although the Tianpeng clan wasn't an emperor clan, they were still very terrifying. Rumor had it that there was a Tianpeng Bolong. It could be said that the Tianpeng clan was a very powerful divine beast clan. The Tianpeng clan had a top genius of this generation. He met Morong Qingcheng again by chance and fell in love with her. However, Morong Qingcheng's heart belonged to someone else, and she didn't care about him at all. Later, he found out that Morong Qingcheng's lover was someone called Lin Xian. He was very angry about it. Therefore, he sent people from his clan to investigate what Lin Xian was like. If he was weak, he would kill him directly. Morong Qingcheng had the Phoenix bloodline, so she must have a close relationship with the Phoenix clan. Therefore, this time, the Phoenix clan also sent a proud daughter of the heavens to explore together with them. Their target this time was Lin Xian. Chapter 4783. The two of them entered Holy Abyss City. With their strength and identity, they easily found out where Lin Xian was. He had joined the Dao sect. It seemed that he was quite strong. Qing Feng's eyes flashed. Bai Lifei sneered. The difference in strength between the disciples of the Dao sect was huge. The strongest one was the emperor. The weakest one couldn't even block one of his attacks. He was probably at the bottom. The two of them headed to the Dao sect. They went to look for Lin Xian. In the end, they found out that Lin Xian didn't leave the Dao sect. Did he go on a mission? Qing Feng frowned and asked. However, he didn't get the same answer. No one knew where he went. Qing Feng found someone to ask about his performance after entering the Dao sect. The result was disappointing. After this guy came, his whereabouts were very mysterious. No one knew where he was cultivating. Moreover, he didn't fight for any rankings. Until now, he wasn't even on the stars ranking. I told you he's nothing to be afraid of. Bai Lifei snorted. Qing Feng sighed. It seemed that Qing Cheng had bad taste. The genius in her eyes was just so. Forget it, let's not bother about him. Let's go play in the ancient city. This was the primeval city. There were many relics of the sages here. The two of them left the Dao sect. Lin Xian wasn't in the Dao sect. He went back for a few days, and then left again. Lin Xian went to other relics of the sages to browse and comprehend. Today he returned. He found many people outside the Dao sect. What happened? He looked over. There was a woman standing in front of him. She had a huge sword on her back and was extremely beautiful. The appearance of this woman attracted the attention of many Dao sect disciples. Someone exclaimed, "What a beautiful woman!" Her stunning appearance wasn't any weaker than Fairy Lanziyu. She even had her own characteristics. Could it be that she was here to look for him? Lin Xian was shocked. Thinking of this, he walked forward. At this moment, a figure stopped him. "You're finally here. I've been waiting for you for many days. I thought you wouldn't dare to come back." Hearing this, Lin Xian frowned and looked to the front. There was a woman in blue standing in front of him. Although she was extremely beautiful, she was still a beauty. But he wasn't happy at all. This person was Lan Jiyu. "What do you want?" Lin Xian asked coldly. The surrounding Dao sect disciples cried out in surprise. "What a beautiful woman. Look, it's Fairy Jiyu." Countless people looked over once again. Who was the person standing beside Fairy Jiyu? How unfamiliar. Although Lin Xian came in first place, he kept a very low profile after coming in, so most people didn't recognize him. "Are you free now?" Lan Jiyu asked coldly. Lin Xian asked, "Are you inviting me?" The surrounding people were stunned when they heard this. It can't be. Who is this person? How could Fairy Jiyu personally invite him? Their eyes were red. Lan Jiyu said, "You can think of it that way too. I feel like it's time for a duel between us. I'll let you prove my strength." "Challenge me?" Lin Xian smiled. "You're not qualified. I'm not free. I'm very busy. Not just anyone can challenge me." With that, Lin Xian walked to the side. The surrounding people were stunned. Oh my god. Is this person rejecting her? Someone actually rejected Fairy Jiyu. How big of a heart does he have? Hearing this, Lan Jiyu's face turned ugly. Since when did anyone dare to reject me? If you're a coward and don't dare to compete with me, then just say it. I can let you go. Lin Xian smiled coldly. He really wasn't interested. Because his target was the people on the Holy Gulf list. He really didn't care about the stars list. Young Master Lin, you're here. At this moment, the woman with the giant sword on her back turned around and revealed a beautiful smile. The people around them were all staring at the scene. What's going on today? Two beautiful women have arrived. Moreover, did these two peerless beauties come for the same man? They realized that the beautiful woman with the long sword was also walking towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian said, "So it's Miss Dugu. I wonder why you're here." Dugu Xiaoyi, revealing a beautiful smile, she tilted her head and said, "I'm here to look for you, young Master Lin. You helped us so much before and we haven't thanked you properly. Today, we'll treat you to a meal. Come, thank you." "Okay, I happen to have time." Lin Xian smiled and nodded. Lan Jiyu said, "Didn't you say you don't have time?" She gritted her teeth so hard that they almost broke. Lin Xian glanced at her and said lightly, "I just don't have time to fight with you." With that, he didn't look at her again. Lan Jiyu's face was terrifyingly dark. Damn it, am I being ignored? Or is it that I'm not as beautiful as her? She stared at Dugu Xiaoyi. Dugu Xiaoyi also turned her head and stared at her. The two beautiful women had a biting cold aura in their eyes. Dugu Xiaoyi said, "Young Master Lin, is this person disrespectful to you? Do you need us to make a move?" "No need. She's just a self-righteous woman." Lin Xian shook his head. "Let's go." Dugu Xiaoyi waved her hand and a golden chariot flew over. Pulling the chariot were two beasts, snow-white lions. They were mighty and extraordinary. Lin Xian and Dugu Xiaoyi rose into the air and left in the golden chariot, leaving behind a group of envious gazes. "Quickly go and find out who this person is. He should be from our Dao sect. Damn it, when did such a famous genius appear in our Dao sect?" In their opinion, Lan Jiyu must have been jealous of a beautiful woman. In the end, Lan Jiyu lost. This was an earth-shattering event. Countless people quickly investigated, and the news spread throughout the entire Dao sect. Lan Jiyu's face turned green. Damn it, it's not like this at all. She only wanted to challenge the other party. Moreover, she was really ignored. White Crane Tower. The entire 7th floor was booked. There were several figures sitting inside. One of them was a middle-aged man with a cold expression. He frowned and said, "He's still not here. That kid is not taking us seriously." This time, they weren't waiting for some important elder or patriarch of a clan of the ancients. They were waiting for a young man. Moreover, he made them wait for so long. This middle-aged man was naturally unhappy. What kind of status did the Dugu clan have? They would never wait for someone for so long. If it wasn't for the old man, he would have left long ago. This middle-aged man was not ordinary. He was an elder of the Dugu clan and the old man's son. His name was Dugu Hai. It turned out that after Lin Xian left that day, Dugu Xiaoyi had hurriedly sent a distress signal to the clan. Soon, the Dugu clan sent experts to protect the old man. Chapter 4784. Dugu Hai was ranked first among the old man's sons. He was also Dugu Xiaoyi's uncle. He was considered young, but his strength and talent were very strong. He was already at the peak of the Saint King realm. He was only one step away from the great sage. He would become a great sage within 300 years. This was something that the Dugu clan was very proud of. Therefore, he was usually very arrogant. Other than his elders, he didn't care about others. Now that he had to wait for a young junior, he was naturally unhappy. Old man Dugu's face darkened when he heard this. He looked at Dugu Hai and said, "Old man, remember this. Although he is young, he has the combat strength of the great sage. He is a top genius who is close to the emperor's son. So treat him with the same respect as you treat me. Do you hear me? If you dare to offend him and cause the Dugu clan to have no chance to make friends with such a genius, don't blame me for being rude to you." Dugu Hai said helplessly, "Father, I know." Although he said so, he still didn't believe that a middle-stage Saint King had the combat strength of the great sage. What kind of joke was this? He had to see it for himself later. Outside the White Crane Tower, the golden chariot stopped. Dugu Xiaoyi walked out and looked at Lin Xian. "Young Master Lin, please." Lin Xian nodded. He didn't expect to come to the White Crane Tower again. The first time he came, he had a conflict with Baizhen. Now he was invited by the Dugu clan. He went up to the 7th floor of the White Crane Tower and found that it had been booked. There were only a few people inside. Old man Dugu was sitting there. When he saw Lin Xian, he immediately stood up and walked over. "Young Master Lin, I am so happy that you can attend my banquet." Dugu Hai also stood up and looked at Lin Xian. He found that Lin Xian was indeed a middle-stage Saint King. Did such a person really have the combat strength of the great sage? He didn't feel any dangerous aura from Lin Xian, so he looked down on him even more. He felt that the other party was just exaggerating. Lin Xian looked at Dugu Su and smiled. "Senior Dugu is too polite. You are an old senior. How can I dare to accept that? By the way, are your injuries better?" Old man Dugu said as he pulled Lin Xian to sit down. "It's much better now. It's all thanks to young Master Lin that you acted in time. Otherwise, the poison in my body wouldn't have been removed so quickly." At this moment, Dugu Hai walked over and said, "Mr. Lin, my name is Dugu Hai. Thank you for saving my father." Lin Xian looked at him and nodded slightly. Then he looked at old man Dugu again. Dugu Hai was taken aback. Wasn't the other party a little too arrogant even after finishing his attack? His expression was somewhat gloomy. In fact, from Lin Xian's point of view, the other party wasn't even a great sage, so he really wasn't worth paying attention to. During the banquet, old man Dugu and Lin Xian chatted as they drank. The atmosphere was very harmonious. Old man Dugu said, "I really don't know how to repay young master. Here are some cultivation resources. Please accept them." After saying that, Dugu Xiaoyi stood up and took out a storage ring. There were 1,000 drops of dragon marrow, 10 million caddies of divine crystals, and 2 Sage King grade weapons. It could be said to be very generous. Even a peak Sage King would be envious, let alone a mid-stage Sage King. However, Lin Xian's expression was calm. He said, "Old man Dugu's words are too serious. I didn't save you for these things, so I can't accept them." Dugu Xiaoyi was stunned, but Dugu Hai sneered in his heart. In his opinion, Lin Xian was just pretending and would accept them in the end. However, he was wrong. Lin Xian really didn't intend to accept them. He had saved Dugu Hai for 2 reasons. He felt that being on good terms with Dugu Hai would be of great help to the Divine Union. In the future, they could make the Dugu family their ally. Therefore, he really didn't care about these resources. Could it be that young Master Lin thinks it's too little? "I can let them prepare it," old man Dugu said. Lin Xian shook his head. "It's really not senior. If you really think highly of me, then be friends with me. Who knows, I might need senior's help in the future. Then this old man will teach this little friend of yours. If you need his help in the future, just let me know. The Dugu family will definitely not decline." "Thank you very much, senior." The banquet continued. Not long after, a figure hurried to the 7th floor, reporting to the family. "What's going on?" Old man Dugu frowned. "Didn't they say that no one was allowed to disturb them? Xiaoyi, go and take a look." Dugu Xiaoyi stood up and walked outside. However, not long after, she came back with a pale face. "What's wrong?" Old man Dugu frowned. Dugu Xiaoyi said, "It was Dugu Lei. He seemed to have gotten into trouble outside. Little Lei had always been like that." Dugu Hai didn't mind. He said that they could just send their subordinates to settle it. Their Dugu family was considered a big family. What couldn't they settle? However, old man Dugu frowned. "Old man, if it was so simple, would we still need the subordinates to tell us? The other party definitely has a big background. Xiaoyi, tell us the details." Dugu Xiaoyi nodded. Grandfather was right. The person that little Lei offended wasn't simple. It was someone from the Tianpeng family. Tianpeng family. Old man Dugu was stunned. Even Dugu Hai sucked in a breath of cold air. Although the Tianpeng family wasn't an emperor family, They were still a god beast family. They were very strong and much more terrifying than them. Dugu Hai's face changed. Although he was arrogant before, that was only towards normal people and sections. Against the Tianpeng family, he had no chance of winning. Their Dugu family couldn't compare to them at all. It seemed like they had to lower their heads this time. Dugu Hai said, "Since it was like this, then let Little Lei apologize to them. If it really didn't work, then they would fork out some resources and settle it peacefully." The subordinates reported that Little Lei had already settled it like this, but the other party didn't agree at all. They seemed to want Little Lei to kowtow and apologize. What? Dugu Hai stood up. What kind of joke was this? Kowtow and apologize? This wasn't just Dugu Lei's matter. It was their Dugu family's matter. Although the other party's family was strong, they couldn't be so arrogant. Who was the other party to the Tianpeng family? If it was just an ordinary disciple, they would really dare to fight. The other party was Tianpeng family's Bai Lifei. What? Hearing this, Dugu Hai was stunned. Even old man Dugu stood up abruptly and said with gritted teeth, "This Dugu Lei really didn't have eyes." It was fine if he was arrogant normally, but he actually offended the Tianpeng family. Was he really tired of living? He had heard of the name Bai Lifei. Although the Tianpeng family wasn't in Holy Abyss Ancient City, they were still very famous. All the families had to pay attention to them. Bai Lifei was a top genius in the Tianpeng family. Offending such a person, that was courting death. Chapter 4785. Yes, Grandpa, what should we do? Dugu Xiaoyi was also anxious. Old man Dugu said, "There's no other way. Looks like I have to apologize to them personally. Let's go. If we're late, Dugu Lei might be killed." Old man Dugu stood up and said, "Prepare the carriage." At the same time he looked at Lin Xian and said, "Young Master Lin, I'm sorry. I wanted to continue chatting with you, but it seems that I can't. Our Dugu clan has a useless grandson. Something happened. I have to go and deal with it." Lin Xian said, "I'll go too. Maybe I can help." He wanted the Dugu clan to be his ally. Then he had to show enough value. Previously, he saved old man Dugu, but he felt that it wasn't enough. He wanted to go and take a look. Maybe he could convince these people again. Really? That's great. Thank you, young Master Lin. Old man Dugu's eyes lit up. With a young expert like Lin Xian, there might be a chance for things to turn around. The group quickly set off. Dugu Xiaoyu was also happy. However, Dugu Hai was disdainful. Even their Dugu clan couldn't deal with it. What could a young man do? In his opinion, Lin Xian was just pretending. Spirit Void Valley. It was a very famous place in Holy Abyss Ancient City. There were spirit veins everywhere. There were a few sages who came here before. At this moment, there were many people standing in the valley. Each of them had a powerful aura. Moreover, there were terrifying flames on their bodies. All kinds of flames could burn the 9 heavens. Among them, there were 2 terrifying figures. One was a woman in green, surrounded by terrifying green flames. The other was a tall and sturdy man in battle armor. There was also a faint golden flame on his body. It condensed in his palm. These 2 people were Qingfeng and Bai Lifei, who came to Holy Abyss Ancient City. The 2 of them stood like gods and demons. Opposite them was a young man with a huge sword on his back. His eyes were filled with fear and terror. At the same time, he looked out of the valley. He had already notified his clan. Why hadn't they sent anyone? If they didn't come, he would be in trouble. Finally, just as he was about to lose all hope, he saw a low light shining in the sky. There was also the sound of roaring. Dugu Lei's eyes lit up. He saw a few chariots flying over with the Dugu family's emblem on them. He jumped up and clenched his fists. His eyes were filled with excitement. Great! Now that the people from his family had come, he no longer had to fear these 2 people in front of him. In the valley, the others also saw that and turned around. Even Qingfeng and Bai Lifei frowned and looked into the distance. In the distance, the war chariot stopped, and several figures walked out. There were old men, middle-aged men, and young men. Is Grandpa here too? Dugu Lei's eyes were filled with excitement. Great, he could finally take revenge. Thinking of this, he snorted proudly. Old Man Dugu and the others quickly landed after they arrived. Grandpa, you're finally here. Help me teach them a lesson. Dugulay ran over and shouted loudly. In the end, what she received was a slap from the old man. Old Man Dugu sent Dugulay flying with a palm strike. Dugulay spun a few times in the air before landing on the ground with his teeth broken. He said in horror, Grandpa, why did you hit me? We're the enemies, aren't we? Useless trash, you don't even know how to cultivate. You only know how to cause trouble and make enemies for your family. Do you know who you've provoked this time? Old Man Dugu was so angry that his body trembled. It was fine if he provoked other rogue cultivators, but this time, he had provoked the Tianpeng clan. Was that someone the Dugu clan could provoke? Dugulay was terrified. Could it be that he had kicked an iron plate this time? Thinking of this, his face turned even paler. Old Man Dugu snorted coldly. See how I'll deal with you when we get back. Then he looked in front of him. In front of him, two people stood there with cold smiles on their faces. It was as if they were watching a show. Old Man Dugu took a deep breath. These two people were too extraordinary. Their auras were terrifying. Especially that flame. It was extremely precious. Even the great sage might not be able to get it, but it had appeared in the hands of these two young men. He looked at the burly man first. He had a huge figure and a violent aura. His gaze was indomitable. He should be from the Tianpeng clan. Who was the lady in green next to him? She must be extraordinary to be able to stand side by side with the Tianpeng clan. Thinking of this, he took a deep breath. He waved his hand and Dugulay walked up with a smile. This must be the peerless genius of the Tianpeng clan, Prince Bailey Fei. He had long heard of Prince Bailey's great name. Now that he had met him, he was indeed worthy of his reputation. Dugulay smiled and went up to greet him. However, Bailey Fei stood with his hands behind his back and looked coldly at him. He had no intention of paying attention to him. This scene made Dugulay's face stiffen. His smile became a little ugly. This guy was too arrogant. Although the other party was from the Tianpeng clan, his identity was not weak either. The other party had ignored him. Although Dugulay was furious, he did not dare to act out. After all, they were at a disadvantage this time. The other people in the valley were not weak either. They were either from the top clans, top sects, or people from the orthodoxies. At this moment, they were shocked to see this scene. They naturally knew about the Dugu clan. However, they did not know about the two young geniuses in front of them. Now that they saw it, they were shocked. To be able to make the Dugu clan bow their heads, they must have an extraordinary background. Moreover, they heard about the Tianpeng clan. Could it be that the two of them were from the Tianpeng clan? They were extremely shocked. Dugulay was ignored. Old Man Dugu sighed. It seemed that he had to take action personally. He walked up and said, Prince Bailey, this grandson of mine is useless. I don't know how he offended Prince Bailey. I want him to apologize to Prince Bailey. This time, Bailey Fei finally spoke. So it's the Dugu clan. This grandson of yours is too daring. He actually dared to have ideas about my friend. I taught him a lesson, and he actually wanted to get the experts of his clan to kill me. How do you think we should settle this score? I can spare his life on account of Old Man Dugu. However, it depends on what your Dugu clan can take out. Dugulay's face changed when he heard this. Could it be that the other party wanted to extort them? Old Man Dugu's eyes were also gloomy. Dugulay stood up from behind and said, He's talking nonsense. I didn't want to kill them. I just saw that the girl was extremely beautiful and wanted to get to know her. They were too overbearing. Chapter 4786. Old Man Dugu didn't say anything, he just turned his head and glanced at Dugulay. His cold gaze caused Dugulay to kneel on the ground, not daring to say anything. He knew that he had caused a disaster today. Old Man Dugu turned his head and looked at Bailey Fei with a cold look in his eyes. He asked, What does young master Bailey Fei want? I am a very reasonable person and I don't want much. Bailey Fei stretched out a finger and said, Give me a world. What? A world? Hearing this, the surrounding people sucked in a cold breath. The Dugu family's people were even more stunned. In the myriad worlds, they were a peak clan in the buried Emperor Star. the most important world. They have many other star worlds in their hands. These stellar worlds either did not have any saints, or they possessed extremely important metal or sources, or various other precious resources. Generally, the top clans would have a few of these worlds in their hands. But now, even the Dugu family wouldn't agree to give away one. What? Bai Li Fei said with a smile. Could it be that you think that your grandson's life isn't worth a world? Since that's the case, there's no need for me to hold back. Old man Duga's face turned completely cold. Beside him, Duga Hai was also furious. His expression was ferocious as he roared. Bai Li Fei, don't go too far. I was courteous to you before because you are from the heavenly rock race. But if you continue to be arrogant, don't blame me for suppressing you. With just you. Bai Li Fei's face was filled with disdain. His 5 fingers formed a claw and grabbed forward. It was like a world cage. The surrounding space was constantly shattering. Damn it, you dare to look down on me? Duga Hai shouted angrily. He pulled out the huge sword on his back and slashed down. The entire world seemed like it was going to split apart. Boom. Boom. Intense explosions sounded out as the huge sword was split in half. Duga Hai vomited blood and was sent flying. A terrifying crack appeared on his body. A mere Saint King dares to be arrogant in front of me? Bai Li Fei withdrew his palm and sneered. How is this possible? Countless people cried out in alarm. Old man Duga's pupils shrank. Great sage's battle strength. Although the person in front of them wasn't the great sage, he had the battle strength of the great sage. A top-notch genius. The Dugu clan has really kicked an iron plate this time. In this golden age, their Dugu clan did not have such a genius. Perhaps they would be defeated in the future. His heart was filled with despair. However, when he saw Lin Xian beside him, he took a deep breath. Bai Li Fei was at the peak of the Saint King realm, and he had the battle prowess of the great sage. However, Lin Xian was even more shocked. Lin Xian was only a middle-stage Saint King, but he had the battle prowess of the great sage. Wasn't that even more terrifying? Thinking of this, he became even more determined to win over this young man. At this moment, Duga Hai also stood up shakily. His face was extremely pale. The sword Dao Law on his body was rapidly repairing the cracks. Damn it! His expression was sinister, teeth clenched, but he didn't dare make another move. Even with his full strength, he couldn't block the palm of the other party. The gap was so big. Old man Dugu looked up at the other party and said, Young Master Bai Li Fei, although my grandson is in the wrong, aren't you being too greedy for an entire world? Why do you think it's too much? Looks like your grandson isn't worth an entire world. Since that's the case, I'll send him to hell. He looked at Dugulei. Dugulei was trembling on the ground. He was about to faint. He cried out, Grandpa, save me. He didn't want to die. Old man Duga's face was cold. His hands clenched tightly in his sleeves. Was he going to make a move? Although he was the great sage, the other party was backed by the Tianpeng clan. Could he bear the wrath of the Tianpeng clan? I've changed my mind. At this moment, Bai Li Fei's lips curled up into a smile. The people of the Dugu clan heaved a sigh of relief. Great, they saw hope. However, in the next moment, they fell into the abyss again. Bai Li Fei said, It's a pity to kill him. Why don't I cripple him and let him become a cripple? I really want to see how an ant can survive in such a martial world. After saying that, his palm slashed forward like a knife. This strike would probably shatter Dugulei's meridians and foundation. He wouldn't be able to cultivate anymore, and would become a cripple. No, Dugulei was in despair. If he became a cripple, he would rather die. Old man Duga's pupils constricted. He wanted to make a move, but it was too late. The other party was too fast. Just when everyone thought that Dugulei was finished, a hand grabbed the other party's knife. A low voice rang out. It was like 100,000 claps of thunder. Bai Li Fei's palm was pushed back, shattering the void. He also took 2 steps back. His eyes shone with a shocking light. Who was it? Was it the Dugu clan's leader? Qin Feng was also stunned. Was the Dugu clan so reckless? She looked forward as well. Soon he was stunned. He realized that old man Dugu didn't make a move. Instead, it was a young man. He glanced at that person. He had come with the Dugu clan. but he had been standing at the side without saying a word. He had thought that the other party was just a servant. However, it didn't seem to be the case. Bai Lifei also looked over. The light in his eyes was like a heavenly knife. It made Duguhai's hair stand on end. However, Lin Xian was completely unaffected as he stood there. Bai Lifei was shocked. It was shocking that the other party could withstand his gaze. Who are you? Why are you meddling in my business? Lin Xian looked at Bai Lifei in front of him and sighed. He said, "Let me apologize and this matter will be over." Everyone in the valley was stunned. They looked at the figure in surprise. Who was that? He dared to challenge Bai Lifei? Could it be that he had a powerful background? It couldn't be, right? When did the Dugu clan have such an expert? Why hadn't they heard of him before? Everyone's eyes were filled with curiosity. However, Bai Lifei's face darkened. He smiled. "I didn't hear what you said. Kid, how dare you order me around?" Lin Xian said. "It's not an order. It's a piece of advice. Because it won't do you any good if you continue." Bai Lifei was stunned. Was he threatening him? He was the top genius of the Heavenly Rock clan. He grew up with a silver spoon in his mouth. His bloodline was super strong, and his talent was terrifying. He had always been the one who defeated everyone. No one dared to offend him. Now there was someone even younger than him here to give him advice? Even Old Man Duga didn't dare to challenge him. Who was this guy? Qing Feng was also surprised. It had been a long time since someone dared to challenge Lin Xian. He looked at Lin Xian curiously. Chapter 4787. What if I continue to attack? Bai Lifei took a step forward, and a terrifying domineering aura surged from his body. The pressure of his bloodline appeared and caused everyone in the valley to turn pale. Lin Xian sighed. "I've already given you a warning. If you continue to attack, you'll be courting death." Bai Lifei was so angry that he laughed. "I haven't met such an arrogant person in a long time. Brat, I won't let you die so easily." A terrifying killing intent surged from his body and swept through the 9 heavens. The surrounding people were shocked. Duguhai's expression also changed. He shouted angrily. Damn it, they had already offended the Heavenly Rock clan. If they completely enraged the Heavenly Rock clan because of this brat, their 100 Lane clan would really be finished. Was this brat trying to get them killed? Lin Xian didn't pay any attention to Duguhai. A cold glint appeared in his eyes. His opponent was indeed an expert who could arouse his interest. He also stood out, and a terrifying aura spread out from his body. Heavenly Rock clan? I haven't experienced it yet. If you want to attack, then come. Let me see if you have the qualifications to be arrogant in front of me. What's your name? I don't kill nameless people. Bai Lifei shouted coldly. In his opinion, his opponent should be a very famous expert. Lin Xian smiled. If you can defeat me, then you can know my name. Otherwise, you don't have the qualifications. You're arrogant, but you don't have a brain. Go to hell. Bai Lifei was completely enraged. Qing Feng, who was beside him, also shook his head and sighed. He admitted that Lin Xian was courageous, but he didn't have a strategy. If he angered Bai Lifei in this situation, he would end up in a miserable state. He could already predict what was going to happen next. So he shook his head. He hadn't been in Holy Abyss Ancient City for long, and he had already met so many people who didn't know their place. On the other side, Bai Lifei had already attacked. He threw out a punch. It was like a meteor shooting towards the front. Retreat quickly. The surrounding people in the valley quickly retreated. This Bai Lifei was extremely terrifying. He wasn't someone they could fight against. If they were hit by his battle aura, they would probably be seriously injured. Facing this terrifying attack, Lin Xian wasn't afraid. He formed a hand seal and the great rock seal flew out. Boundless golden light flickered as the divine fire condensed, forming a golden rock that flew out. Boom! An earth-shattering sound rang out as the Sky Peng's palm was blocked. Bai Lifei was stunned. The other's pupils shrank as well. Was that a rock? Could it be that this fellow was specifically challenging Bai Lifei? Bai Lifei's expression was somewhat ugly. His eyes were filled with a biting cold killing intent. He was a sky rock, yet the other party had used the great rock seal to resist. What was the meaning of this? Was this a slap to his face? Indeed, a terrifying wave of power erupted. The image of a heavenly Peng appeared behind him, fusing with his fist as he directly attacked. This power was many times stronger than before. Clearly he was angry. Lin Xian sneered. The seal of the Great Rock continued to be activated. The Great Rock seemed to have come alive. The flames on its body suddenly erupted, and directly rushed over. The two sides clashed, causing the heavens to fall and the earth to split. A wave of power rushed into the 9 heavens. Did he block it? Qing Feng was also surprised. How could this guy block the Sky Peng's attack? In other words, he also had the battle prowess of the great sage. Bai Lifei was also shocked. Although he also had the battle prowess of the great sage, they were different. He was at the peak of the Saint King realm. His opponent was only at the middle stage of the Saint King realm. His opponent was 2 cultivation levels lower than him, but his strength was actually not weaker than his. This was too heaven-defying. Those legendary imperial princes were nothing more than this. Could it be that this fellow was also an imperial prince? Who exactly are you? Bai Lifei roared crazily. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Since you attacked, you should also have a taste of my attack. An extremely terrifying light burst out from his eyes. The power of reincarnation was released, turning into 2 reincarnation divine steels and attacked. With a bang, the heavens and earth were suppressed. Everyone felt as if their souls were about to be torn apart, as if they were about to be sucked into reincarnation. Bai Lifei's soul was injured, and he kept retreating. His face was pale, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Damn it, what was this eye technique? Why did he feel as if he was facing a god just now? He was injured, and he could not believe how proud he was. Ever since he was born, other than a few specific people, he had never been defeated. But now he had been defeated by someone younger than him. Furthermore, he still didn't know who his opponent was. But his opponent's strength and soul were really too terrifying. Beside him, Qing Feng's eyes burst out a shocking light. She stared at Lin Xian. This fellow was really beyond her expectations. She did not expect that there would be such a miraculous person in Saint Origin Ancient City. At the back, the people of the Dugu clan were also stunned. Dugu Xiaoyi's beautiful eyes were wide open. This was a peerless genius. Compared to Lin Xian, the geniuses from the clans that she had seen before were really too weak. Lin Xian was facing the top genius of the Heavenly Rock clan, and he was not at a disadvantage at all. In fact, he had easily crushed his opponent. At the side, Dugu Hai was also sweating cold sweat. Previously, his father had told him that Lin Xian was a peerless genius, but he did not believe it at all. He thought that his father was exaggerating. But now he saw Lin Xian's strength with his own eyes, and his hair stood on end. Thinking about how he had mocked and ridiculed Lin Xian before, he felt a lingering fear. Was such a person someone he could offend? Lin Xian was only a middle Saint King, and he was already so terrifying. If he became a great sage in the future, how terrifying would that be? If there were no accidents, such a person would be comparable to a great emperor when he grew up. Old man Dugu's eyes shone with a startling light. He was now even more determined to do his best to befriend Lin Xian. He knew that his grandson was fine. He shouted coldly, "Hurry up and thank young Master Lin." Dugu Lei was dumbfounded. Hearing his grandfather's words, he also came back to his senses. He quickly went to young Master Lin and thanked him for saving his life. To be honest, he was a little afraid of Lin Xian, because Lin Xian was even more terrifying and powerful than Bai Lifei. Such a person was not someone he could offend. "Young master, please follow me back to the family. I will definitely treat you well." Old man Dugu smiled. Lin Xian looked at him and said, "Old man, you guys go back first. I still have some things to do here." "Alright, we will go back first. Young master, be careful. If you have any difficulties, you must tell me. Our Dugu family will definitely do our best." Then the people of the Dugu family left. Lin Xian stood there and looked around. The people in the valley were whispering. They looked at Lin Xian with respect. Although it was a short battle, it showed how powerful and terrifying Lin Xian was. Probably no one would dare to offend him again. Bai Lifei did not attack again because he knew that the opponent was very strong, even stronger than him. If he went up again, he would only be at a disadvantage. He gritted his teeth. He must find out who the opponent was. Chapter 4788. Qing Feng's beautiful eyes flickered. Interesting. I have to send someone to find out who he is. The two of them didn't know that the person standing in front of them was Lin Xian, the person they wanted to meet this time. What kind of expression would they have if they knew? Seeing that Lin Xian didn't leave, Bai Lifei gritted his teeth. He didn't want to stay here any longer. After all, he had been slapped in the face. So he said, "Qing Feng, let's go." However, Qing Feng didn't have any intention of leaving. She said, "Why don't you go back first? I'll stay here for a while." As she spoke, her lips curled into a smile as she walked forward. This young master was really strong. However, he looked unfamiliar. Which clan did he come from? The smile on Qing Feng's face made the world lose its radiance. She was beautiful, but usually, she was very arrogant. Only a few people could make her smile like this. At this moment, Lin Xian also had the qualifications to do so. Qing Feng's origin was very terrifying. She came from the Phoenix clan, which was a monarch clan. She had seen too many geniuses. For example, Bai Lifei, who was a peak holy king, had the battle strength of the great sage. However, for a holy king like Lin Xian, who had the battle strength of the great sage, it was very rare. Even if there were, they would be imperial princes and princesses with the bloodline of great emperors. Others couldn't compare at all. However, this Lin Xian in front of her didn't seem to be an imperial prince. This made her curious. "If you want to know my identity, shouldn't you tell me your background first?" Lin Xian glanced at her and said indifferently, "I'm Qing Feng, from the Phoenix clan." Phoenix? Lin Xian was surprised. Suddenly he thought of Qingcheng. He wondered how that girl was doing. Morong Qingcheng also had the bloodline of the phoenix. Moreover, it was an extremely special 7-colored phoenix. If she met someone from the Phoenix clan, would she be in danger? Thinking of this, he sighed and turned around to leave. The smile on Qing Feng's face froze. She was stunned. What did he mean? Was he ignoring her? She didn't dare to believe it. She had never felt this way. Who was she? She was the proud daughter of heaven of the Phoenix clan. Since she was young, there were too many young geniuses who were pursuing her, who dared to ignore her. But now someone had done it. Damn it, could it be that this fellow is blind? For the first time, Qing Feng doubted her own appearance. Could it be that this guy is doing this on purpose to make me angry and disturb my state of mind? She frowned and looked carefully. She wanted to see how long this guy could keep up the act. However, she realized that she was wrong. Following that, Lin Xian did not bother about her at all. Instead, he began to carefully explore the Void Valley. Moreover, he kept praising it. As expected of the place where the ancient sages came from, it was indeed extraordinary. Damn it! Was he really being ignored? Qing Feng gritted his teeth and wanted to argue with him. She wanted to ask him why he was ignoring her. However, at this moment, a rainbow flew over from the distance. There was a figure standing on it, causing countless people to look over. The aura it carried was too mysterious and terrifying, to the point that everyone felt their bloodlines being suppressed. So scary, a top-notch expert has come. Everyone took a deep breath. Qing Feng's eyes lit up. She also felt the suppression from her bloodline. Who was it? She found it hard to believe such a person. When she saw the snow-white figure on the rainbow, Qing Feng was stunned. It was her. It was actually him. Had he also come here? The eyes of the young geniuses in the valley lit up. She was a beautiful fairy. Her temperament was otherworldly. It was as if she came from the immortal world. Someone walked up and revealed a handsome smile. Where did this fairy come from? How should I address her? Another person waved his fan and smiled. Fairy, are you here to comprehend the Spirit Ruins Valley? I'm familiar with this place. Why don't I introduce you? Figures surrounded her. On the rainbow, the snow-white figure said calmly, My name is Yenryu. I'm from the Demon Emperor Mountain. Demon Emperor Mountain? Countless people were shocked. Even Qingfeng and Bai Lifei from the Heavenly Rock clan gasped. This place was not ordinary. Especially the name Yenryu. It shocked them even more. The other party's background was too extraordinary. However, no one knew her exact identity. It seemed to be a mystery. Lin Xian was also stunned. It was her. He had not gone to the Demon Emperor Mountain to find her. He did not expect her to come herself. There was always a layer of mist around her that he could not see through. Thinking of this, Lin Xian's lips curled up. Sword qi surrounded his body, forming a ray of light that covered his respectful face. He had to test her strength later. If she recognized him, it would be difficult for him to make a move. In front, Yenryu stood on the rainbow and said in a deep voice, I cultivate flames and have reached the peak of my body. I heard that the Spirit Ruins Valley has an innate spirit fire. I was fated to obtain it. I wonder who can help me. I'm willing to be your helper. If I'm willing, I won't refuse. Many people spoke up. Yenryu shook her head. One person was enough. Whose flame was the strongest? Once she said that, everyone stopped talking. Whoever dared to claim to be the strongest would be attacked by the crowd. However, at this moment, a cold shout was heard. I'm the strongest. Then, a figure flew over like a heavenly rock. Bai Lifei. Many people felt their scalps go numb. Although they had lost the chance to get close to Yenryu, who dared to go against Bai Lifei, the people of the Heavenly Rock race. Yenryu was slightly surprised. Then she nodded. It seems that they are afraid of you. That's fine too. Just give me a hand. Then he waved his hand and a green flame appeared in his hand. It turned into a green lotus and bloomed continuously. A terrifying heat surged out. Everyone felt that their bodies were about to melt, and they all retreated. The Heavenly Rock's pupils shrank. In the next moment, he roared and formed his own pale golden flame to resist. It formed a flaming armor that blocked the power of the green lotus flames. Lin Xian's divine flame was still circling around. It seemed to be fearless. He did not make a move immediately. Instead, his eyes flickered. The Spirit Ruins Valley did have an innate spirit fire. However, it was extremely mysterious and difficult to see. Let's begin. Yenryu waved her hand and the green lotus flame flew over and floated in the entire valley. Bai Lifei used his own flame to form a golden heavenly rock that soared between heaven and earth. The two flames kept sweeping around, trying to find the innate spirit fire. Gradually, a blurry image appeared between heaven and earth. It seemed to be the shape of a cauldron, but it was too blurry and could not be seen clearly. Everyone held their breath. Was the Spirit Ruins cauldron and the innate spirit fire about to appear? Many people were shocked. Yenryu's eyes also burst out with a shocking light. She looked at the blurry image and said in a low voice, It's not enough. Continue. As he spoke, more green flames flew over. Chapter 4789. Green lotuses bloomed all over the valley. Everyone retreated to the edge of the valley, because the pressure was too strong. Bai Lifei's face was pale. Should he continue? To be honest, he couldn't keep up. His opponent's strength was beyond his imagination. However, he didn't want to lose face in front of Yenryu, so he clenched his teeth and continued. However, the power of the innate spiritual fire and the illusory cauldron was too terrifying. Bai Lifei couldn't hold on any longer. In the end, he stepped back and spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was extremely pale. Yenryu retracted her hand, and the lotus flames disappeared. She frowned and looked at Bai Lifei. If you're not strong enough, don't force it out. Don't embarrass yourself. You. Bai Lifei was so angry that his face turned black, and he spat out a few more mouthfuls of blood. Damn it, was he being looked down on? Yenryu ignored him and looked around. Was there anyone else who was stronger than him? Is there anyone stronger than Bai Lifei? The crowd was puzzled. Then, they looked at another person. Earlier, this guy had suppressed Bai Lifei. Some said that it was just strength. Now that they were competing with flames, could this guy do it? Yenryu also looked over, and her gaze landed on a figure. Lin Xian walked out and said, Let me try. At that moment, sword light surrounded his body and his face couldn't be seen. Yenryu was confused. She felt that his aura was familiar, but she didn't think too much about it. All right, let's try again. I hope you're stronger than Tian Peng. Bai Lifei clenched his teeth and looked at Lin Xian. He wanted to see how Lin Xian would deal with this. He admitted that Lin Xian had once suppressed him in terms of strength, but so what? To make the innate spiritual fire come out, strength wasn't enough. It required a terrifying flame. Did this guy have it? But soon he was stunned because he realized that Lin Xian really did have it. Lin Xian waved his hand, and the 9 suns divine fire flew out. It was like a sun that shone in the sky. The terrifying flame aura caused everyone's face to change. Bai Lifei's pupils shrank. Damn it, how could Lin Xian's flame be so powerful? Although they were both golden flames, he felt that the other party's golden flames were not any weaker than his sky flames. Who exactly was this person? Qing Feng was also surprised. What a terrifying flame. She was getting more and more interested in Lin Xian. Even Yan Ruyu was stunned. This flame was like the sun, which made her feel even more familiar. Could it be him? Her lips curled into a smile as she formed a seal with her palms. The green lotus flame flew out and bloomed between heaven and earth. On the other side, the 9 suns divine flame had turned into 9 suns that were revolving between heaven and earth. The two worked together, causing the illusory cauldron that had appeared before to reappear. Innate fire danced inside. Furthermore, the appearance of the cauldron was becoming clearer and clearer. It was coming out soon. Innate spirit fire. Countless people exclaimed. Bai Lifei was shocked. He gritted his teeth so hard that they were about to shatter. How was that possible? The other party had really used it. Damn it, he was no match for his opponent in terms of flames, which made him feel a huge sense of defeat. He had lost to his opponent twice. Lin Xian was also surprised. What a terrifying flame aura. At that moment, he heard a voice beside him. I knew it. Such terrifying flames and sword chi. It was indeed you. I didn't expect you to have already come to Holy Abyss Ancient City. I told you before that I was at Demon Emperor Mountain. Why didn't you come to find me? Lin Xian smiled bitterly. It seemed that the other party had recognized him. He had said that he wanted to wait for things here to settle down before going to find him. Who would have thought that he would come early? Right, what was the use of this innate spirit fire? What a terrifying aura. And what was that illusory cauldron? That illusory cauldron should be the broken spirit void cauldron. This innate spirit fire was related to the spirit void cauldron. If you could absorb it, it would be extremely beneficial for your flame. But don't be anxious. Let's wait until the innate spirit fire is completely out. All right. Lin Xian nodded. Since the other party had recognized him, he would not hide it anymore. He activated the 9 suns divine flame with all his might. In front of him, the innate spirit fire was becoming clearer and clearer. Suddenly, it exploded, forming a terrifying flame that was vast and mighty between heaven and earth. It really appeared. Everyone's eyes turned red. This was the legendary innate spirit fire. Now it had appeared in front of them? Quick, swallow the innate spirit fire, and it would greatly increase the flame. It could even help them break through. Some people instantly rushed over. Everyone here was a flame expert. Some threw out terrifying pagodas, some took out terrifying cauldrons, wanting to absorb it. However, as soon as they got close to the innate spirit fire, they started burning. No. One by one, they screamed. 3 experts were instantly turned into ashes. The others were also severely burned. Their faces were filled with fear. Stupid things. Do you think you can get the innate spirit fire? Bai Lifei looked at the scene and sneered. Let me do it. He attacked forcefully. An illusion of a canopy appeared behind him. It covered the sky and the earth and attacked. On the other side, Qing Feng also snorted. Green flames appeared in his eyes. He turned into a phoenix and danced between heaven and earth. At this moment, the two of them attacked with all their might. The innate spirit fire was also very useful to them. It was terrifying. The others retreated. Bai Lifei and the others did not dare to provoke him. Moreover, they found out that Qing Feng was actually from the Phoenix clan. This was even more terrifying. The two of them were at the level of the great sage. The two of them worked together and swept through the area, forcing the others to retreat from the valley. Then the two of them attacked the innate spirit fire. They were courting death. Lin Xian snorted coldly and punched out. The 9 suns between heaven and earth were about to fall, transforming into 9 golden crows that charged towards the heavenly Peng. On the other side, Yenryu's expression was also cold. She waved her hand and countless young lotuses gathered in her hand. She slashed forward. Boom boom. The phoenix illusion was immediately sent flying and became dim. Qingfeng's body swayed and his face turned pale. He gritted his teeth and said, Yenryu, take my strongest attack. If you can block it, I will leave immediately. Phoenix danced 9 heavens. Qingfeng activated the phoenix bloodline to the extreme and attacked with her strongest attack. The sound of the phoenix echoed through the 9 heavens and 10 lands. At this moment, the endless void shattered. Everyone felt that their bodies were about to split apart. This flame was really terrifying. Green Lotus Sword Song. Yenryu was facing such a terrifying attack. He formed a seal with his hands, and the surrounding fire lotuses turned into huge green flame, swords that swept in all directions. In an instant, an earth-shattering amount of sword chi slashed forward. Boom boom. Both of them were consummate skills. After the attack, the sky full of green lotuses bloomed and became even brighter. On the other hand, the phoenix dance of the 9 heavens was completely shattered. You are indeed as strong as the legends say. I admit defeat. Qingfeng quickly retreated and left the valley. It couldn't be helped. Although her status and talent were strong, Yenryu was a legendary figure. Her identity and origin were extremely mysterious. Chapter 4790. Qingfeng gave up, but Bai Lifei didn't. He shouted and unleashed the terrifying heavenly rock 9 slashes towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian sneered. A defeated opponent still dared to fight. He formed a rock shadow and swept in all directions. The golden rock carried the power of divine fire, and bloomed between heaven and earth, colliding with the sky. The two forces were really too terrifying. In an instant, the heavenly rock trembled as if it was about to split open. So strong. The other party was really too terrifying. Even the heavenly rock 9 slashes couldn't do anything to him. 9 slashes and 1 slash, heavenly rock slays the dragon. The heavenly rock phantom behind him became even more realistic, as if it had crossed through time and space. The terrifying claws wanted to tear everything apart. The flames that filled the sky were torn apart, and the rock was also torn apart. It quickly charged towards Lin Xian. The people outside the valley were stunned when they saw this scene. As expected of the heavenly rock bloodline, it was really too strong. Legend had it that the heavenly rock ate dragons. Everyone felt that Lin Xian might not be able to block it. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Heavenly rock slays the dragon. Today you can slaughter one. Look. His bloodline was also activated. Terrifying phantoms appeared behind him one after another. There was a Tyrannosaurus Rex bearing its fangs and brandishing its claws, a sword dragon that swept through the 9 heavens, and an incomparably terrifying sea dragon. Each of them looked down on the world. That terrifying aura made everyone's soul almost split open. What a terrifying aura of the dragon Dao. Was he a dragon? The surrounding people all went crazy. The Tyrannosaurus Rex roared towards the sky and waved its claws, blocking the sharp claws of the heavenly rock. Large cracks appeared between heaven and earth. The sword dragon rushed out. The scales on its back turned into divine swords that pierced the clouds. The heavenly rock phantom was forced back. There were even many places that were pierced. The sea dragon swept out, swallowing it with the power of 10,000 seas. The 10,000 dragons fought the heavenly rock and finally tore it apart. Bai Lifei retreated, his body torn apart. He retreated with a face full of shock. He didn't dare to attack again. It was true that the heavenly rock slays dragons, but it was only an ordinary dragon. If the dragons were strong enough, they could also kill the sky rocks. There was nothing absolute in this world. Everything depended on one's strength. Right now he couldn't defeat these dragon shadows in front of him. Alright, now that the flies have been cleared, the two of us can collect the innate spirit fire. Lin Xian walked forward. On the other side, Yenryu was also blooming lotuses with each step. The two of them came to the front and felt the tremendous power coming from the innate spiritual fire. They were about to take action. However, at this moment, the void split open. Terrifying black flames swept out. One blade was aimed at Lin Xian, while the other blade was aimed at Yan Ruyu. Clang! Lin Xian flipped his hand and unleashed the great rock spreading wings, slamming into the black flames and emitting a deafening sound. The entire valley began to shake violently. On the other side, Yan Ruyu used the green lotus sword song and pierced through the black flames. Her eyes shone with a sharp light. Was there anyone else? Lin Xian coldly snorted. Who was it that didn't know the difference between life and death? Get out here. Two young men. Wanting to obtain the innate spirit fire was just a pipe dream. Get lost obediently and this old man will spare your lives. Endless black flames condensed in the sky, forming an old man. In his hand, a pagoda floated up and down. The people outside the valley were horrified. Who was this? The real great sage was here. His name is Demon Mountain. Not only is he the great sage, but he is also very terrifying. He is ranked 5,000th on the Saint Origin ranking. What? How terrifying was his strength to be able to be ranked on the Saint Origin ranking? Not to mention being ranked 5,000th. He was definitely a terrifying existence. Those two young men were in danger. Yes, although those two had the combat strength of the great sage, they were still lacking compared to the real great sage. Not to mention Demon Mountain's terrifying victory. Even if they were in the same realm, the gap between them was huge. Some people could instantly kill experts of the same realm. Demon Mountain was a terrifying existence among the great sage. Hearing the discussion outside, Demon Mountain sneered. Did you hear that? This old man is not someone you can challenge. Get lost quickly. As he spoke, the black flames under his feet turned into a hellfire python, bearing its fangs and claws. Sigh reckless. Looks like I have to use some tricks. Yan Ruyu sighed. Lin Xian sneered too. How dare you be arrogant in front of me just because you are ranked 5,000th? Get lost. The people outside had all gone crazy. These two youngsters were too reckless. Demon Mountain's face darkened. It had been a long time since anyone dared to challenge him. Since the two of them wanted to die, he would fulfill their wishes. In his opinion, the two of them were just reckless. But this time he was wrong. These two young men could not be looked at with ordinary eyes. Yan Ruyu was mysterious and had a super weapon. And Lin Xian was ranked 3,000th on the Saint Origin ranking. Compared to Demon Mountain, he was much higher. The black flames that filled the sky condensed and covered the sky, enveloping the entire valley. Retreat quickly. The surrounding people retreated. At this moment, they did not dare to go forward, because the hellfire python in front was too terrifying. After the hellfire, these people would be turned into ashes. A mere hellfire dared to fight against a true dragon? Lin Xian laughed. The 10,000 dragon bloodline behind him exploded once again. He swept through everything. Are they from the dragon clan? The great sage of Demon Mountain frowned and sneered. Dragons would be killed too. He waved the black pagoda in his hand. This was his weapon, the great sage's weapon. With this attack, the power of the hellfire became even more terrifying. It was the great sage's weapon. The people outside felt the aura and were even more terrified. Although they could not see, they knew that the battle would end soon. Since you want to die, I will fulfill your wish. Lin Xian sneered. With a wave of his hand, the heaven-devouring jar appeared. A terrifying aura exploded and swallowed all the hellfire in the sky. Then, with an even more terrifying power, it rushed towards the great sage of Demon Mountain. Damn it, you can actually block my great sage's weapon. Demon Mountain was shocked. He realized that Lin Xian also had an incredible treasure. After dealing with this woman, he rushed towards Yan Ruyu. Yan Ruyu snorted. A green lotus appeared behind her and swayed gently. The sky collapsed and the earth cracked. The great sage of Demon Mountain's body instantly turned into a bloody mist. Even his weapon, the pagoda, became dim and was even about to shatter. He became terrified as if he had seen the most terrifying thing in the world. Half of his saint blood burned, cutting off heaven and earth. The other half carried his soul, and the great sage's weapon and escaped. The void broke open and Demon Mountain fled like a stray dog. The people outside were stunned. What was that black shadow? It seemed to be the great sage of Demon Mountain. Was he injured and fled? Everyone was dumbfounded. They did not dare to believe it. Qingfeng and Bai Lifei sucked in a cold breath. What happened inside? Such a shocking scene was hard to believe. Chapter 4791. In the valley, Yan Ruyu looked at Lin Xian in shock. Heaven-devouring jar. You managed to get it. She was really surprised. Lin Xian was even more shocked. Firstly, she recognized the heaven-devouring jar instantly. That surprised him. Secondly, the green lotus that appeared behind her was way too terrifying. It sent chills down his spine. He felt that his great dragon sword spirit was weak. It seemed like Yan Ruyu's trump card was really strong. I wonder what the true identity of this woman is? Alright, take the Khanate spirit fire. Yan Ryu smiled. The green lotus behind her had already disappeared. Lin Xian nodded. He controlled the heaven-devouring jar and started to devour the Khanate spirit fire. The Khanate spirit fire was equally terrifying. Its power was not any weaker than the great sage's. It was even more terrifying than the great sage of the Demon Mountain. However, Lin Xian and Yan Ryu had many tricks up their sleeves. It was not a problem for them to control the Khanate spirit fire. For the rest of the time, the two of them cultivated in the Spirit Ruin Valley. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. The people outside had already left. It was not that they did not want to go in. It was just that they could sense a fatal danger. Not to mention them, even the great sage would not be able to go in. Qingfeng and Bai Lifei left as well. There was no need for them to wait there any longer. Only the Spirit Ruin Valley in front of them had turned into a land of death. There were towering flames that rumbled continuously. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed. Lin Xian was still absorbing the Khanate spirit fire. On the other hand, St. Origin Ancient City was bustling again. It was time for the test of the 3 main orthodoxies. They wondered how many geniuses would be able to enter this year. The True Path sect was still bustling with activity. There were 2 figures. One of them was surrounded by ice that made one shiver. As for the other person, there was a red leaf circling around his fingertip. With a smile on his face, the 2 of them entered the testing ground. They passed successfully. Not only that, the 2 of them started to challenge the experts on the stars ranking the next day. Both of them successfully killed the stars ranking. One of them was ranked 100th on the stars ranking while the other was ranked 87th. This caused the people of the Dao sect to go into an uproar. Another top-tier genius had come this time? Heavens, that man with the red leaf was even more terrifying. Fairy Zhiyu was even more terrifying. So what? Currently, Fairy Zhiyu was ranked 30th on the new list. It wasn't something that these newcomers could do. Senior Brother Fu, this is indeed the Dao sect. It's really strong. Every single person here is much stronger than the ones we've seen before. Lu Yuan looked at the figures in front of him with excitement. Fu Hongya also took a deep breath. It's fine. Although we've just entered, we'll definitely strive for greater heights. These 2 people were Fu Hongya and Lu Yuan. Previously, the 2 of them had been cultivating in the Xiantian Pavilion. From the looks of it, they had already left the Xiantian Pavilion. He began to travel around the buried Emperor Star. On the 10th day of his arrival at the Dao sect, a piece of news swept over. Fu Hongya and Lu Yuan were both shocked. It was said that a lot of treasures were lost in the Dragon Palace overnight. They saw a monkey appearing and disappearing like a ghost, and were now chasing it with all their might. There was even a cauldron of pills condensed from more than 10 types of dragon blood that had been stolen. The people of the Dragon Palace went crazy. This cauldron of pills was meant for the Dragon Crown Prince. Now that it was lost, they couldn't bear the consequences. Thus they searched frantically. If they caught that monkey, they definitely wouldn't let him go. Divine Residence. The dark red dragon and the others were anxiously waiting. That fellow little white had been gone for so long. Was there any problem? The toad said, "Don't worry, little guy. He might not be good at other things, but he's definitely good at finding treasures." Just as he was speaking, A white figure jumped onto his head. It's back. The toad exclaimed. The dark red dragon waved his hand, and a formation enveloped the residence. He said, "How is it?" Little White took down the treasure bowl and poured out the things inside, piling them up into a small mountain. Nalan Liang's eyes were wide open. Yuren was also so frightened that his scalp went numb. When had he ever seen so many treasures? He probably hadn't received so many rewards in 10 years. Little White carried a few good-looking fruits and said, "These are mine. You guys can split the rest." Little guy, you did well. The toad's mouth was crooked from smiling. The eyes of the dark red dragon and the others were also shining. These things were definitely a shocking amount of wealth. In particular, he found a pill furnace that was emitting smoke. When he opened it, he found 9 pills, each of them sparkling and translucent. There seemed to be a dragon's shadow revolving around it. What a terrifying pill. Nalan Liang and the others were shocked. The dark red dragon's eyes also lit up. It was made from more than 10 types of dragon blood. It was a great supplement. Little White blinked his big eyes as if it was delicious. However, it looked too ugly. He looked at the beautiful spirit fruit in his hand and the radiant dragon core. It seemed to be very difficult to decide. At this time, the entire sky outside rang out. Roars rang out one after another. Terrifying souls hid the sky and covered the earth as they searched. The formation kept shaking. Nalan Liang's scalp went numb. What was going on outside? Yuren said, "I'll go out and investigate." He walked out of the formation and quickly investigated. Soon he came back with a pale face. The people of the Dragon Palace had gone crazy. The toad said, "It must be because of this furnace of pills." Nalan Liang said, "Why don't we hand it over? This pill looks extraordinary. If we really take it, the Dragon Palace will go crazy and attack us." The dark red dragon said, "Don't be afraid. How can we hand over something that's already in our hands? Besides, do they have evidence?" The dark red dragon took out 2 dragon cores. He said, "Leave these 2 for Lin Brat. We'll quickly divide the rest." If they couldn't find evidence, it would be slander. They were all dumbfounded. Nalan Liang and Yuren also said, "Do we have a share too?" The toad said, "Of course. Everyone has a share in the divine abode." "Boss, you'll be my big brothers forever," Nalan Liang exclaimed. Yuren was so emotional that he cried. "I'll follow you forever." Next, Nalan Liang and the fishmen each got 1. The remaining ones were divided between the dark red dragon, the toad, and Little White. 2 were left for Lin Xian. After these people swallowed, they felt as if a volcano was erupting in their bodies. It was as if their meridians were about to shatter. Damn, what terrifying power. Roar, roar, roar. At the same time, endless dragon roars came from their bodies, resounding through the 9 heavens. Not good. The toad and the others' expressions changed. They didn't expect the power of this pill to be beyond their imagination. The sound spread out instantly. It was too late for them to use the formation to suppress it. Everyone in the Dao sect heard it. It was as if 10,000 dragons were born. Damn it! When the people of the Dragon Palace heard this sound, their eyes turned red. They rushed over. When they arrived at the divine abode and saw the terrifying dragon aura below, they all roared. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.